Everybody, welcome. I'd like to call the meeting to order at 9:01 a.m. And I'll start with acknowledging that we are gathered on Treaty 6 lands, a part of the traditional territories of the many First Nations, Métis, and Inuit in Alberta. The town of Drayton Valley is grateful for the knowledge keepers and elders and the stories and teachings that they share of these lands and its people. I will now ask everybody to stand for the singing of our national anthem, please.
Oh, Canada, our home and native land, true patriot love, in all of Scotland, cattle crossing stand on. Yeah, please stand on. Stand on.
Wonderful. So jumping into the agenda, are there any additions this morning?
Administration has no additions this morning.
Thank you for that. Is there a member of council that would like to make a motion to adopt the agenda as presented? Councillor Kamana, all in favor? That is carried. Are there any corrections or amendments to the January 25th, 2023 regular meeting of council agenda? None. Is there a member of council that would like to adopt the January 11th, 2023 regular meeting of council minutes and the January 11th, 2023 non-statutory public hearing discretionary use development permit DV 22-062? Council Sheriffs, thank you. All in favor? That is carried, and we have no proclamations this morning and no public hearings. I think this is our first meeting that we don't have either one of those. So we'll jump right into our delegations. And our first one is 7.1, delegation from the RCMP, Acting Staff Sergeant Ryan Hoopner. Good morning and welcome. I see you have a guest with you this morning.
Morning, everybody.
Good morning.
I do have a guest. So I'll start with a little staffing update for you guys. And this is now Corporal Cam Turner. So he just recently found out he's promoted to be in charge of our GIS section here in Drayton Valley. So
Welcome.
so Cam has been he's been in Drayton Valley since 2017. We actually both came out of Grand Prairie and we worked our first days here together.
Oh, wow.
So I've known Cam a long time. Cam joined GIS with myself in 2018 and then has worked with me in that unit and then really took over running it last year when I jumped into the sergeant role. And yeah, found out last week that he is now on the corporal spot. He had to beat out 4 other applicants. So we had some competition there, but yeah. So he is now ranked in his position. We're running that for the next 3, 4, 5, 6, however long this is.
Well, congratulations and welcome.
As well, we found out we have 2 general duty corporal spots we're still waiting on. One of those, the individual's been told. I've reached out to him, haven't heard from him, so I will keep his name quiet until I actually talk to him. But that one should be filled shortly. we should have boots on the ground here. We're hoping in the next couple of months, so that will be some help. The other general duty spot is selected as well, and we should be hearing fairly quick, as what I've been told by our superintendent. And the staff sergeant spot, I know that you guys had a meeting with a friend of mine, and he signed his paperwork showing his intention to come here last week. So that's now going through our promotion system, but it shouldn't actually be too long that staff sergeant's position's filled. So I'm excited. I've known that the individual who's come for a staff for the last 10 years, and he's a good man. So you guys will enjoy having him here.
Good, lots of exciting news this morning.
Yeah, yeah, it's good. It's we have 6 supervisor positions there at the office, and we have 3 now that are kind of 2. Cam and I got promoted in-house, and Brian's been there a long time, but we have 3 coming in. So we have the stability of keeping people there, but we also have some new people with new ideas. And so I think it'll be a good mix.
Cool.
So that's our staffing update. We'll jump into the stats. I think they're up there. So we're done 2022. So our stats in 2022, I know property crime is always a big one. It actually only shows a 1% increase for the year. So we probably pretty much stayed the same as 2021, which is a good thing, because when we look at our 5-year trend, we went from 2018, 174 break and enters to 2021, 73, 2022, 78. So we're really down a lot. When we look, like 2021 we had a huge decrease. So if we can actually keep it down at those numbers, we're doing really well. When we look at our 5-year trend, motor vehicle thefts dropped by 38%. We had the lowest, half the motor vehicle thefts in 2022 than we did in 2018. We went from 122 to 64. It's still 5 a month, which is still a lot for a town our size, but it has really plummeted. That has to do a lot with, Cam's team did 3 different chop shop files where they took out 3 different chop shops. So they really focused hard on the motor vehicle thefts and the selling of the vehicles afterwards. So put a good damper into that. We do have a couple of people back out that we might see those start to creep up. We're hoping to nab them and nip that right away. But yeah, other than that, the increase we see is in persons crime. Persons crime, it shows a 21% increase for the year. Person crime is tough as far as policing perspective to do proactive work on. Nobody plans to go out and get it into a domestic or plans to go out to the bar and get in a fight. So that one is a tough one. We have seen an increase still in domestic and like criminal harassment files. I feel like that's still a spillover from 2021 and COVID. We saw a huge increase in COVID in domestic violence. That was kind of all across the world. And we're still kind of seeing the spillover from that. So I'll be curious to see how that plays out in 2023, but it's tough to proactively work against persons crime from a policing perspective because it's not usually planned. It's usually kind of an emotional response, but that's what I got you for the stats. I'll take any questions.
Perfect. Thank you very much for that. Any questions from council? Councillor Evans?
The chop shops that you managed to shut down, were they in town here or in the county or?
Yeah, no, they're not in town, just because of the size. Like, they need a spot to store large numbers of vehicles. Yeah, so they were all in the county, but lots of vehicles from town showing up there. But yeah, they need that rural property where they can hide them and kind of do it. It'd be pretty tough to do it in town.
Yeah, it makes
How
sense.
do you hide 12 vehicles?
Yeah, I was wondering.
Yeah,
That's why I
yeah.
was wondering. I thought, boy, if they were in town, they're
No, yeah,
pretty
no, they're all
sneaky.
county. Yeah.
Fair enough. Thank you.
Yeah.
Good to see some
Yeah.
of those things go down or stay down anyway.
Yeah, yeah, it is good.
Councillor Kamana?
Thank you. Good morning.
Morning.
Just about the persons crimes, as you mentioned, has gone up a little bit there,
Mhm.
and mostly assaults.
Mhm.
Are they more domestic grievances or?
Yeah, it is domestic. And the other thing we've seen is we've seen an increase in our nightlife, and we've gotten more assaults, 2 a.m. assaults at like when the OCT is letting out a little bit. That's just with the economy changed in 2022 from 2021, where it started moving, which is good. And, but then you still get that, that crowd coming out. Lots of those don't go to charge, I'll be honest. They're the fight that the police get called to, and then we score it as an assault, but it can be an assault, but yet unfounded because it's more a consensual fight and the loser calls us. But it's still in our scoring that gets scored as an assault. That's the reality.
Thank you.
Any other questions? I do have some questions, but I think before I ask them, I would ask that maybe we move into close, just because I don't know how much information you can give.
Okay.
So what I think I'll do is I'll ask a member of council to make a motion to move us into close. And then just everybody that's in the gallery, just if you want to come around back, you can grab a coffee or a drink and a snack or whatever. Well, only be five minutes. I won't be long. So is there a member of council that would like to move us in close, please? Councilor Gramana, all in favor? That is carried.
You're not staying with me?
Yeah, grab some snacks, a coffee. I won't be long.
Yeah, do I get snacks?
All good, thank you. We're off. He's on. Yeah. I'm just gonna shut my mic off.
He's not, it's for us, it's to a mental health. That, for our power. Like, he refuses. Or, that, so we do have our taxi. But they, like to the other hospital, and sometimes, you know, that's, very, very good. Gentle, very good. I think the homeless forum is, it's a homeless population. So I guess it's good. Okay. Yeah. So like, like, it's tough, right? Because that number's coming from me. But I think people want a lot. Some of those issues. It might be the same person, uniquely. I don't think so. But I know they got in there, not under the. And then we do have some people who are, they would be like, those people on the edge, right? Fucker, they're a bunch. But I wouldn't consider them Yeah, yeah, yeah. So do you want top load? We need both, right? Yeah, we have the top load top and we have the side top. Those are just expression. You get all sorts of personalities. Just personalities. Okay, thanks, guys.
All right, so we had a motion. Did you share that with, I didn't write, or did you write the time down, Rob, with Pam? Okay. You have that, Pam, for when we moved out of closed? Okay. Okay, perfect. Well, thank you very much, everybody, for accommodating us and slipping out for a few minutes. So we'll move along through the agenda, and we have a second delegation here this morning, which is the physician recruitment. Pat, if you want to come up or down to the mic, you can sit or you can stand, whatever. We can bring another chair here if you'd like, or you can stand, whatever you're more comfortable with. Yeah, you can go to the podium or you can sit down. It's totally up to you. Welcome and good morning again. Nice to see you. As long as it's green, I think.
It's green. Does
Got
that
it?
work now?
Perfect.
Morning, everybody. I have a very important person, my partner, Sune, with me this morning. And so
Morning.
actually, Sune has the first part of what we're going to say, so I'll just turn it over to her.
Morning, everyone.
Good morning, welcome.
Thank you. I'm Sunay. I'm the secretary for the Physicians Recruitment Committee. So I hold on to all the important documents. And we just kind of wanted to tell you about what we've been up to the last year. One of our most exciting things that we were a part of was a big conference that was held here. It was RPAP who held it, the Rural Health Professions Action Plan. And that was held in, was it October? Beginning of October. And I've got some, I'll just pass this along. There's 2 pages, just for interest's sake. It's 2 pages after each other, so everyone will get 2. Yes. Yeah. And so it's just to give some indication of, this was feedback that we got from RPAP, from all the conference attendees. So we had 150 people register for the conference, and this is people from all over Alberta, mostly rural communities who do the same kind of thing as we do, so attraction and retention committees. And then there were town councillors, county councillors, like I said, from all over Alberta, which was really fantastic to see. This was the biggest conference that they've had, the biggest registration for a conference that they've had in recent years. We were meant to host the conference actually in 2020, and then COVID happened, so it was pushed to 2021, and eventually in 2022 we could actually go ahead and host this conference. And it was hosted at the CETC. So on the first page, really I just printed that out so you can see at the top there the total registration and how many people attended, etc. And then the second page is just about the conference logistics. So this is what people had to say specifically about Drayton Valley and the facility that we held it at. And unfortunately, I couldn't print this in color, but all the top numbers that are really big, that's excellent. So that's what we want to see. And people really, really enjoyed not just the conference, but the community and the surrounding area. We had, like I said, the conference was 3 days, over 3 days. That was held at the CETC. And then the one night we had just a community dinner kind of thing for everyone. And that was held out at Wiley West Campgrounds, just to kind of show off what the whole area has to offer. And one of the comments there is someone who said, I plan on coming to spend time camping in the area because of this conference. So it was nice to be able to show off not just what we are doing as an attraction and retention committee, but also just our town and our county and what we have to offer. So that was really a very positive experience for all of us, besides obviously learning a lot about physician attraction and retention and healthcare attraction and retention. And then another very positive thing that our committee has been involved in is we assisted Alberta Health Services last year, and we hosted a site visit for 2 physicians to try and lure them, attract them, I should say, to Drayton Valley. And they did actually sign with Drayton Valley, so they will be starting in March sometime. So there will be 2 new physicians at Malone Clinic, which obviously is positive for the town because there's a lot of people who don't have a family doctor right now, very long waiting times. So we're very excited to welcome them to our community as well. And then the last little bit that I wanted to tell you about before I hand over to Pat is just what we've been doing last year in order to thank our healthcare workers and our physicians. So that's part of what we do, is not just attracting healthcare workers, but retaining them. And they've had a really tough time with COVID, a lot of, public backlash, public anger that ended up being taken out on healthcare workers because they're the people dealing with it. So we really wanted to show our appreciation, not just to physicians, but to all healthcare workers. And because we couldn't have an in-person appreciation dinner like we usually do, we decided that we were going to each month target a different part of the healthcare system and just do something special for them. So the one month we took a basket with different kinds of teas and hot drinks and biscuits and treats up to the hospital for the nurses. And that was put out for them with little notes to say thank you. And the next month we delivered gift baskets to the EMS, so the ambulance personnel. And just we targeted each different PCN, the community health center, obviously the physicians, pharmacists. We tried to really focus on each different aspect of the healthcare system and just show our appreciation in different ways. So that was, instead of an in-person thing, not quite as personal as we like to usually do, but still we got really good feedback and they were very appreciative of that. So that's just a little bit about what we've been doing, and then Pat's going to tell you about what we would like to do for this coming year.
So actually, Sune will give him a copy. Perfect. So as you heard Sune say that we've been very busy the last year, more so than what we even really realized till we sat down and started to talk about it and think about it. So we are moving into what we're calling a new kind of a year in terms of what we can do. So we're excited about the fact that we are in the process right now of planning what it's almost a tradition, we called it a physician appreciation dinner. So we're in the middle of doing that. We're planning something for, I'm going to check to make sure I have the right date, March the 30th. It will be held again at the CETC. We get to invite we're going to invite doctors, pharmacists, and other professionals, as well as people like the mayor, the Reeve, the MLA, important people like that, and sit down and enjoy a dinner and a visit and an opportunity to say a sincere thank you again and appreciation for the work that they've been doing. So the opportunity to go back to what we had done about 3 years ago on an annual basis, we're in the middle of doing that. The other thing our committee has done, though, is come up with a really great idea, I think, in the idea of perhaps doing a summertime barbecue concept open to all the health professionals in our community, all the nurses, hospital staff, everybody in that department, kind of back to almost the community dinner concept for that particular, all the healthcare professionals and workers. And that will take some work and some dollars, of course, but we think that we really do need to reach out to everybody. So that's first of all, we want to get our dinner out of the way and make sure that we can still pull that off. And then we'll get into the midst of looking at doing that. So I'm hopeful that we'll be able to have something in that area, actually at the hospital, somewhere in the hospital parking lot, or I think there is a new area that's been developed there with the community health, or the Health Foundation has, we saw a glimpse of it. It's, I don't know, what do you call it, Bill? It's just gather right inside there and just move in and show some real appreciation with some food, which is always well received. So we're looking at doing that. And of course, because we want to do that right now, financially, we're in a pretty good position because we haven't had to do much in the area of attraction in the last week. We have accumulated some, but by the time these 2 new physicians come into town, they get settled, we make sure all their needs are met. Plus we do our appreciation dinner, we're going to be scrambling a little bit for dollars. So it's one of the reasons we thought this would be a good time to be here to see if it's a chance that we could ask for some support from the town for that. So that's basically where we're at. We've been busy and we want to continue to do that. We want to focus on the part of our mission statement that talks about showing the appreciation, saying thank you to all of the medical world so that they stay in town. And if you listen to the news, you know that's an accomplishment if we can do that. So Does anybody have any questions about anything that either one of us have said?
Well, thank you very much for that. Thank
You're
you for
welcome,
giving us an
Nancy.
update, and thank you for everything that you do in recognizing the healthcare workers in our community and appreciating them. I think it's fantastic that you're giving that shout out and recognizing them. I know that they have had a bit of a tough
Yes,
time,
they
not a
have.
bit of a, but a very
Very
difficult
tough
time
time,
over
yeah.
the last, couple of years. So it's nice that we can show the appreciation, and you're doing a fantastic job. So thank you for that.
Okay,
Are there any questions? Councillor Ballas?
Thank you. I'm just wondering, Pat, if you would like to just inform them about our subcommittee.
okay. I was ready for you, Bill. I thought you might do that.
I had it wrote down here too. I was going to ask Bill and say, because I was talking to Mark and he was saying that we need an update.
We need an update. Okay, so for those that may not know, our Pembina Physician Recruitment and Retention Committee, right? That's what PPRRC stands for. About a year ago, we formed what we call a subcommittee, and it's called the Healthcare Action Committee here in town. We do have some of our originals are part of that. We have two of them gentlemen sitting right over there, Amla and Bill, are a big part of what we're doing. In addition to that, we have, Heather Barrett is part of our committee. She represents the village of Breton. Kara Westerland represents the county. And then we have Mark Smith, the MLA. And so we have formed our subcommittee, and the purpose of what we're trying to do is get the attention of Alberta Health and Alberta Health Services about the needs that we have in our community. I'm excited about the fact that I really feel like we have made some progress with the help of Mayor Nancy and individuals like her. We were actually reached a point where we can have conversations now with Alberta Health Services and Alberta Health. So having done that, we are making some progress. So I'm sure I actually brought this because I think everybody would have received something like this in their mailbox during the last week or so. If you chucked it out, that's too bad. You should have read it because it talks about what the government of Alberta is focusing on in the world of healthcare and trying to improve the situation. And the work that we've done on our committee, I can say that it really does appear from conversations we're having with individuals that they are trying, they're working on these things. But we used what they have come out to say will be their focus and to try to develop a document that we want to present, and we're actually very close to the point of presentation to Alberta Health Minister to show what Drayton Valley needs to be paid attention to for. So the things that are on here, one was to decrease ER wait times. It's certainly an area that we have here, a shortage of family doctors, et cetera. So in that area, they say they want to attract and train additional doctors and nurses to reduce wait times. So part of what we want to be able to put out there is that Drayton Valley is a perfect place. We have the CETC in place. We have the training center and capabilities in place. Maybe what they could consider, and I know that right now they're working with Wainwright, for example. Wainwright is a place where the University of Calgary trains nurses and educates nurses. So why couldn't they do that with Drayton Valley? Let's think about that. Let's work with one of the post-secondaries and look at actually using our area. I know healthcare aides, et cetera, right now it's in progress, but let's up the ante. Let's look at, there's a shortage of nurses. We have that ability here. So we're trying to advocate that that would be a place to step in and do something. Anything to add to that, Bill or Amala, that I missed with that idea of training, education? Like we see Drayton Valley as a perfect opportunity for that aspect.
And I think just advocating that Drayton Valley, there are other opportunities, even in our hospital with the lack of surgeries. There's the potential
Yeah.
for that to happen here
Yeah.
as well.
And so that actually addresses then another one that they had. On this one, they talk about improving EMS. We haven't moved in that area. The reports that we got and that it's not horrific here. I hope that the guy that probably knows more about it will maybe say that, but at this point, we haven't done too much in that area. So we could talk later about that. Another one was, as Bill suggested, they say they want to reduce wait times for surgeries. Well, we said, we have a hospital, we have a facility, we have operating rooms that are not being used or utilized to capacity for sure. So when they say they want to increase surgeries of underutilized operating rooms, mainly in rural areas, well, hello, here we are. Okay, so I'm really quite confident in, and what we heard from Alberta Health Services is that right now we know that endoscopies are being done, where people can travel in and have that service provided, that's an area that they're working at increasing the use of. So we'll see where that one goes. And then the fourth one that they have on here, I don't know if Bill and Alma, did you guys read this? No. Okay, let me tell you. They say they want to empower frontline workers to deliver health care. And if you read that, one clause under there says restore decision-making to the local level and to local health professionals. Well, that's really interesting to us because we have had conversations amongst us in the committee about the fact that Drayton Valley is part of the central zone, and we're on the edge of it. So sometimes a great deal of frustration is expressed about the management of what's happening when we are on the edge and we don't get the attention that we feel that we need. The primary source of operation of our zone is Red Deer and Wetaskiwin, so we don't seem to be there. Perhaps there should be a conversation about going back to where it apparently used to be before my time, where we had a management here more local. And so the fact that they have actually written this and circulated around the province suggests to me that it's something that maybe we should be talking about some more with them. So as I said, we have made some connections. We are right now very, very close to actually meeting with, I'm hoping it is actually the Minister of Health, but at least somebody, a head honcho in his department, as well as some other individuals from Alberta Health Services to present what we really believe Drayton Valley could provide for them. So any questions about any of that?
Thank you very much. Any questions? Councillor Kamana?
Thank you. No, I just want to mention about the options that we've discussed about, I guess, for international graduates to upgrade
Yes.
as well in our community. That's another avenue that the committee was looking at as well. But the next piece, I guess I will be a little bit biased, but just wanted to, thank all the work that committee has done during the pandemic to appreciate all the healthcare workers in our community as well. And, all the work that the committee is doing right now with the healthcare challenges that, the province, the whole country is facing. So, thank you very much for
Well, you're welcome.
Any other questions?
That's an interesting thing to be working on these days, for
Yes,
sure.
it is. Yes,
Yes,
very
okay.
much. Well, thank you
Thank you.
very much. And we haven't stopped on our end working either. We're trying to, like you said, bring that, continue with the healthcare aid program students here. We're also looking at bringing a nursing program here. And we've had those conversations with Alberta Health Services to duplicate the pilot that they're doing. And it's the University of Lethbridge, right? Is that what you said?
Well, it's University of Calgary
Or
is the one,
University-
yeah, and
but-
Wainwright. Wainwright is
Wainwright,
connected with
yeah.
Calgary, yeah.
So I've had those conversations about doing the same thing,
Same
right?
thing, yes.
Duplicating that here,
Perfect.
right? So it's a matter of kind of just aligning everything and hopefully we can make it happen in the next year, right?
Well,
So
the more voices they hear about it, the more likelihood we'll get.
exactly, right? So we might need a letter of support too from you.
Awesome.
But
All right.
we'll definitely talk about that with you. And thank you very much for both coming today and sharing us and giving us an update. We really appreciate it and look forward to seeing you both again soon.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Take care. Okay, and that is it for our delegations. So there is a bit of business arising from the delegations. There was an ask. And do we want to talk about that now or would we put it on for a decision item later in the agenda?
As it's arising from the presentation, it can be dealt with now by motion. Yeah.
Okay, perfect. So the ask was for the retention committee for additional supports as there's been conferences and they're looking at appreciation dinners and they've hired 2 new physicians in the community, so they have exhausted or will be exhausting the funds that are in their pool right now. Traditionally, in the past, I think we've given, I want to say, or it's a $10,000, I'm going to look, I'm looking at, it's funny because I'm looking at Graham. Like Graham knows the history. So I think that typically they have about $10,000 in their account. And then they look at kind of when it dips down that they look at, I think it's the town and the county to top it back up. Do you have any kind of numbers of what we've typically given in the past, Elvira? Yeah. Bill?
In the past, the town contributed 5,000 and
Was
the
it
county
5,000?
contributed 5,000
Okay. Yeah, I thought it was 10,000. I wasn't sure how much.
total.
Okay. So, would we just make a motion to put the number out, or would we, I'm just trying to think of how, because there wasn't an exact ask, right? It was just to continue to support the permanent position recruitment. So we know that that's through, or a financial ask.
Yeah.
Nope, they left.
They're gone, hey? I'm not sure unless there was some conversation at the committee level that could help us, help guide the conversation. Otherwise, I do believe that it was, the $10,000 was shared between the town and the county, so I would guess if we were going back to that it would be a $5,000 contribution.
So Bill, you did bring something, I think, at our last meeting or in discussion, what was give a report kind of on that from the committee?
Yeah, the ask from the committee was for a $5,000 contribution as it was in the past, and they're going to request the same amount from the county of Brazeau.
Okay, so maybe what we'll do rather than make a decision on that, maybe we'll get some clarity on what the ask is and talk to the committee specifically, and then we can bring it as a decision item for our next meeting.
Yep, we can
Yeah.
do that for you.
Okay, and do you need any motion or direction on to do that, or?
No, if we're just going to bring the information back in a request for decision, we'll deal with it then.
Okay, perfect. Okay, and so that is it from our delegations, and we will move into our decision items. The first one is 9.1, Water Distribution Project Update, and this is Abid and Jason. Good morning, welcome again. Come on down. Yes. And it should be above me too here. Can you see it?
Yep.
Okay, perfect.
Perfect. Thank you very much. Well, thank you for having me this morning. I'm Jason Copan with ISL Engineering. Is it all right if I begin?
You bet.
All right, perfect. So you do have the slides. I believe they're in your package. So the purpose was to go through an update on this water distribution project. And so if you can go to the, I guess I can do this, hey? I don't know if it's in presentation mode or not. Okay. There we go. So just wanted to provide a bit of context on this project. So let's go back and talk about kind of key components of the water treatment and distribution system. So you do have we'll start at the river where you've got the raw water pump station. We upgraded and commissioned that in late 2019, early 2020. That did win an award, by the way, for project management. And that was the first project to undergo using IPD for municipal infrastructure. So I do have a plaque for you guys as part of that. So I'll hand that over to Rob. There you go. So that can be hung or displayed or wherever it is you want to put that. So
And that is for 2022 Canadian Consulting.
yeah, that's
Award
right.
for
So
management.
yeah, that's the town was bold and you guys went after using an IPD delivery model on that project. And if you recall, we originally budgeted the raw water pump station at about $7 million and we delivered it for 4.2. because of that delivery model, I think, and the collaboration that happened there. So, and we did some very innovative stuff with respect to the design, but, and we did win an award for that. So I wanted to make sure I shared that with you guys. 'cause you were
Perfect. Thank you
obviously
very
part
much for that. And then remind us, the award is from
It's from the Canadian Consulting Engineers.
the Canadian, oh, it is
Yeah.
from the Canadian Consulting Engineers.
right.
Okay,
So-
wonderful. That's awesome.
Yeah, there you go. So that'll look good on your walls. And then from the raw water pump station, of course, we go up the hill to the water treatment plant, which we upgraded and commissioned in 2015. That is that's an ultrafiltration membrane treatment process, and we do have treated water storage there at about 2,000 cubic meters or so. That facility does pump to Reservoir 2 through a dedicated main, and that's important to note. One of the other things we are doing at the water treatment plant right now is through ISL Adapt, which we have a partnership with the town, where we're working on research for artificial intelligence in water treatment. And actually, we're heading into commercialization phases there, which is really promising. That's a whole separate talk to the town that I'll have to come back and apprise you guys on at a later date, but some really exciting developments there. World-leading stuff. So after the treatment plant, the other key thing you have in your system right now is Reservoir 2. That is where you have the bulk of your treated water storage for the community, and right now it is pumping to the entire town. And so it covers 100% of your distribution system efforts. And then after that, of course, you've got your distribution system complete with pressure zones. And ultimately, you're meant to have about 7 zones, and currently there's about 3. So if I can go to the next slide there, you can see. So the key things with respect to the water distribution project that I want to point out, treatment plant, whoop, did I do that? Okay. I've got big thumbs, I guess, but treatment plant up in the corner here, up in the northwest, there is a dedicated main that I've highlighted that goes down to Reservoir 2, which is located by the hospital. You used to have a reservoir in the downtown area called Reservoir 1 that was decommissioned before my time, I believe, due to structural issues. And so that's not in use, and what used to feed that was this dedicated main, this 250 main noted up here, that runs in the right-of-way for 56th Avenue, and that came all the way down to Reservoir 1 down there. Sorry, I'm not doing that either. Hey, there you go, bit bigger. So yeah, and you can see the 3 zones that you currently have in this picture. You've got one out to the east, which is River Ravine Estates. You've got one the southeast down there by the hospital, and then there is another zone up here in the northwest that has a couple of pressure reducing valves as well. Those are the 3 that are currently active. So that's just a bit about the system as it is currently set up. So next slide, please, or maybe I could do that. There we go. All right. So, so the water distribution project. So early in 2022, there was problems with a failed pressure relief valve on the distribution header at Reservoir 2. It was a failed bonnet, and so essentially it was bypassing water back into the storage chamber below. There's also problems with an isolation valve on the PRV, and so you could not actually effectively isolate the PRV to initiate repairs. And so what did this cause? Well, what happens when pumps see a loss of pressure is they start ramping up and they start pumping. So the pumps were running continuously, and this looked, to the pumping system, it looked like a continuous fire event. And so the pumps responded accordingly, and they were ramping up to hold the pressure in the town's distribution system. But keep in mind, you're leaking some of that pressure back into the clear well that feeds the pump, so you're just cycling it. And so that's a very difficult situation because of the failed isolation valves you would have to take the pumps out of service to actually fix that PRV. And I'll explain why in a second. All 4 pumps were actually needed to keep up with basic pressure demands because you are losing a portion of that pressure and flow back through the failed valves. And so the pumps are really not meant to run continuously for long periods of time. Okay, and so that creates certain challenges. And so operations then were having to manually throttle valves for pressure control. So that failed pressure relief valve was not managing the pressure on the distribution header. And so operators were manually throttling the pumps back to control pressure. This would also lead to issues where you would have pressure surges in your distribution system because of the diesel-driven fire pump that would kick in when there was low pressure drops. And there's no pressure relief on the main distribution header either, like I mentioned, and having the fire pump kick in can be catastrophic if you're not managing pressures. So also at the same time, if you were to start to lose pumps, you would have a risk of loss of pressure in your distribution system in certain areas, which actually in the low-lying areas, or high areas, sorry, could lead to negative pressures, and you could have infiltration into a leaking distribution system. And so that could have led to boil water advisories. You didn't have any, but that was one of the key risks. So next slide, please. So this is just a graphic of what I just kind of explained. So there's 5 pumps there. They all pump up into this common distribution header, and these 2 valves here were the key things. And unfortunately, they're downstream of all the pumps, and they lack isolation off of the distribution header. It's just a different way it was designed back then. And so in order to fix these 2 valves, you actually have to stop the flow going into this side piece somehow, and you could not do that under that emergent situation. And so what was happening is as these pumps were turning on and they were pushing water, you're losing some of it back into the clear well, and so you're only getting a portion going out to the distribution system. So this also highlights that you have P205, which is pump 205, which also is meant to feed the southeast pressure zone by this dedicated pipe here, and I'll talk a bit about that. But what the operators were doing, they were manually coming and throttling the flow out of the main distribution pumps by manually operating a valve that was there. So it's not easy to do, because as demand conditions change in the distribution system, they would have to come back and manually throttle that valve on a repeated basis. So that's a bit of the context. The next slide, please. So in about mid-February of 2022, we were contacted by the town to help with this, and the premise was to get the water treatment plant pumps providing full-time distribution and help repair Reservoir 2 and get the emergent issues there dealt with. So we had several meetings with the town to work out sorting out the scope, which happened in mid-February as well, and we got a notice to proceed at the end of February, and I've noted that there. I wanted to note that the town did start to plan out this project prior to us jumping on it. And it was based on doing 12 pressure reducing valves in the distribution system. And that's information that's contained in the master plan that we did for you guys in 2016. And I believe the project budget was established at 1.4 million. I will make a comment that the reducing valves were put in the order on the capital plan in the water master plan, but they were also supposed to be done in conjunction with the Poplar Ridge Reservoir and Pump Station, which actually did not go ahead. So, which is located on the west side of town. So, point 6, there was some acknowledgement when we were building out the scope that the previously mentioned upgrades in the 2016 master plan needed to be reviewed in this context, because certain things have changed since that 2016 master plan, and one is the town growth and development was not as forecasted at that time. And a recommended strategy was to look at how best to make the connections now with the current growth that you're experiencing, the current demand pressures you have, to find the minimum upgrades needed that will work with the system that you have. And that's the system that I explained at the start. So, and we always need to keep in mind how to effectively run 2 distribution pumping systems. It's very important. You cannot have 2 separate pumping systems fighting inside your distribution system. That's catastrophic. So anyways, next slide, please. So we split the project up into several phases. Phase 1, and this is where I'll talk about the scope kind of each phase and what the status is. Phase 1, we assisted the town with an application for grant funding under the Alberta Municipal Water and Wastewater Partnership Program. And that was our scope, was to help try to get some money for these repairs. We did prepare a memorandum and we did provide that, and we did that through February and March. And so essentially phase 1 was completed. Next slide. So then it was important to look at Reservoir 2, and we split the Reservoir 2 phase up into 2 tasks. The first task that we had to do was pressure control and isolation. And so the purpose was to get the town into a position to fix the isolation valve and the PRV at Reservoir 2. We had to reduce the risk of pump failure and loss of distribution pressure due to all the pumps running continuously. So our scope on that was to model and analyze the risk of losing the pumps, to help operations conduct some field work and verify valves and connections in the field. And we also had many communications back and forth on task planning. And so spelling out steps for repair, and we helped the town select a contractor. We worked on backup plans and set what we needed to plan out. And we also went through quite an extensive series of what-if scenarios. So if you can imagine, we were working our way through if we couldn't do it this way, if we couldn't affect the changes in a certain way, if the pumps failed, if the pumps stopped working, how do we handle all that and make it seamless for the town so the residents would still have water coming out of their taps and not experience any disruptions, not lose any pressure, not have to go into any boil water advisories. So there was a lot of back and forth with that. We also helped Shelley and her team organize and schedule field execution, including dry runs with the contractor, reviewing everything that we could on site, brainstorming at the Reservoir 2 facility just to make sure we had everything in place to be able to do this. And so that was completed at the end of April in 2022. We were able to get that fixed. Both valves are done. You can now properly isolate the PRV and carry on it. So it's back to working as normal. So the next slide, please. The second task we have related to Reservoir 2 is to fix the southeast pressure zone. So as I mentioned before, there's that dedicated distribution main for the southeast pressure zone, and it has a failed coupling on it, unfortunately, which is inside of the reservoir. It needs to be fixed because what happened with the main pumping system is also happening with the southeast pressure zone pipe, which is that P205. When pumping is just recycling water back into the clear well. And so our scope there was to review and develop plans to help you to take down Reservoir 2 and have a contractor ready to go and go in and actually deal with the failed coupling inside. That's a confined space entry, requires disinfecting the reservoir after and all that sort of stuff. If you can understand the timeline for that, it actually needs to be done when you can actually take Reservoir 2 out of service. And so in order to do that, we have to get pumping from the water treatment plant initiated. So while we started kind of planning for this particular task under phase 2 is not started yet because we are working on how to get pumping going from the distribution or from the water treatment plants. So, next slide, please. Okay, so phase 3 has to be is dealing with the water distribution pumps at the water treatment plant. So task 1 is what we are on for that, and so that requires modeling for hydraulic grade line adjustments. So if you remember back to the start of the presentation, back in 2014, 2015, we were doing the design and construction of the water treatment plant. At that time, the plan was to have the Poplar Ridge pump house and reservoir also in place shortly thereafter. And so the pumping system was designed to deliver a certain amount of pressure and flow based on how we expected or anticipated your distribution system to be up and operational at that time. Without Poplar Ridge there, that means we have to do adjustments to how this was all designed and actually built. And so the purpose of this task was to build on the recommended strategy that we were talking about earlier and to look how best to make connections now with the current growth and define the minimum upgrades that we would need to work with your distribution system as is. Again, we always need to be keeping in mind how to effectively run 2 distribution pumping systems because Reservoir 2 would still be in operation after that. The primary purpose was to answer the question, what upgrades are required to switch the distribution from Reservoir 2 to the water treatment plant? Is it pressure reducing valves or is it pipe? And so our scope then was to review implementation of the previous recommendations for distribution upgrades from the 2016 master plan. We completed quite significant amount of design review work, looking at current growth projections and demands. And at that time, the town had undertaken a land use bylaw update with our Calgary office and the planning group. And so we were looking at current projections and demands based on that. And so we kind of coupled those 2 together and looked at what we would need. When we figured out kind of how we thought we could do it, based on record information and GIS information from operations, we helped the town actually assess the actual conditions in the field to verify potential for connections. And I have to stress, we need to get this right so that there's no surprises, because when you're shutting pumps off in one facility and turning pumps on another, you don't want to find out that a valve that you thought was supposed to be there is not there, or that it's not operational, those types of things. So we helped the town sort out discrepancies between record information and GIS information. We would then take the revised information back to the modeling team and perform modeling based on the updated distribution system information. And then we would work backwards to set the hydraulic grade line at the treatment plant, and then verify that we could modify how those pumps operate so that they would be able to push out like we want them to. And then I kept outlining upgrades, recommended upgrades, and needing a path forward. And that went back and forth with the town for quite a bit. And so we were, that was May through essentially December of this year. And this is nearing completion with what I'm here to talk to you about today. So the next slide, please. This would be a bit of an explanation on the timelines. So May through December. So again, reviewing previous work with the recommendations and adjusting that for revised growth, along with paralleling that with the land use bylaw update work that was underway. And then what we would do is we'd first run modeling scenarios to find bottlenecks in the system. And so in order for us to move to pumping from the treatment plant full time, we have to make sure that the pumps can satisfy several demand conditions. Those are average day, max day, and fire flow demands without causing pressure issues or problems within your distribution network. So we would run the models, find the bottlenecks, and then what we would do in step 3, we would complete an engineering review and identify potential connections and ways to mitigate any sort of issues that we were finding with the modeling. So we were figuring out that connections actually may not be pipe, or they may be pipe and not necessarily PRVs. So our thinking started to shift. PRVs are important, but timing for PRV implementation is based more on build out of the town and needs to balance higher demands, which in turn drive pressures up. And so I just want to make that point. Point 4, so once we kind of figured that stuff out, we would go back to the town and say, okay, now we've got some field work that we need to do to verify potential connections. And again, we don't want any surprises. And so what we were doing was finding and operating critical valves to allow for isolation. And a lot of that required hydrovac work and contractors to dig down and expose infrastructure to make sure we got it right. Several iterations went back and forth on revising the model and engineering after we figured out what the connections looked like in the field. And I do want to say that this wasn't my best delivery in terms of schedule. And so we did have some impacts related to other projects we were doing relative to the town at the time over the last year, which is the wastewater treatment facility berms. We're also working on the tech vendor RFP and upgrades for your wastewater treatment facility, which I have the RFPs back there to go over. We also did some emergent work for the modeling of the Murrah Pond, or Pond 5, which had to do with the new location for the school. And we were also tasked with looking at revised modeling for 50th Avenue, and those were done under the framework agreement. So I do apologize to the town that this, in my opinion, this did take a bit longer than anticipated to kind of get through some of this modeling work. And I understand that can be a little frustrating, so I do apologize for that. Next slide. So what did we find? There's important issues to consider here. So in the back of our minds, it's these 5 kind of key things. Again, needing to satisfy ADD, MDD, and fire flow conditions, regardless of which facility is operating, whether it's the treatment plant or Reservoir 2. The key thing is to avoid pressure waves and surges. And you've got the water treatment plant up in the northeast, and you've got Reservoir 2 down in the south. And so if you're rapidly switching back and forth between the two, the tug of war that's happening with pressure surges is happening within your distribution system. That tends to blow old pipes, crack fittings, and cause leaks. And that can lead to a lot more repair work than you probably originally anticipated. And so we want to avoid that. So point 2, we want to have connections that allow for Reservoir 2 to be fully isolated and allow for the water treatment plant to fully supply 100% of the town. And again, we cannot fix the southeast pressure zone pipe without taking Reservoir 2 completely offline. So we had to modify kind of plans to make sure that we could achieve that. Part 3, again, I talked about controlling both facilities. And the other point is you have to balance water stagnation. So if your storage for your overall town is combined into 2 different facilities, one at the treatment plant, one at Reservoir 2, we have to also balance turning that water over and making sure we're constantly keeping things fresh. Do you have a question? You bet.
I just didn't want to get all the way to the end and try and make sure I had notes as we went through this.
No problem.
So ultimately, we want to run the entire system off the water treatment plant?
To allow for repairs to Reservoir 2, and then after that, you would bring both facilities online at different times, and you would principally deliver from the treatment plant, let's say during the day, and then at night, you would have to switch to Reservoir 2 and do that, and that's because the storage is split up.
Yes, so you want to use that water that's in storage in Reservoir 2.
Correct.
It was my understanding that Reservoir 2 was generally, and I may be wrong on this, a backup system to ensure that the hospital always had water available. But we're required to run both the reservoir
Yeah.
in the plant and the reservoir number 2.
Right. Yep.
Okay, that doubles up our pumps, et cetera, gives us 2 separate pieces of infrastructure that we
Correct.
need to,
Correct.
and there's no way we can bypass 2 or, I guess you want the water there, so you got to keep the water fresh in the end. So you need to keep
Yeah, there's.
running through there.
And again, reservoir storage volumes are built out of 3 kind of essential components. In terms of the volume of water that we keep in there, the biggest one actually is for emergency purposes. So when fires happen, it needs to be available. And so Alberta Environment requires you to have 2 times average day just parked and ready to go. You have what's called, you have a discretionary volume that you use kind of for peaks to help you manage peaks, and then you have a volume in there for average day. And so it's balancing all those. So
Along with turning that water over enough to keep it fresh to
correct,
pump.
correct. It is not uncommon for municipalities that have multiple pressure zones and have multiple elevations across your municipality, like you guys do, to have different storage and distribution in different locations. It is common.
And I would think we're trying to keep the area that we feed with Reservoir 2 to a minimum, as I mean, it's pretty old technology, pretty small pumps. We're trying to feed as much of the distribution system with the water plant itself, are we not? Does that make sense?
That would be the goal. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. That
Okay.
would be the goal. So,
Thank you.
and then balancing all of that, because I think there's more storage at Reservoir 2 than there is at the water treatment plant right now. Yeah, there's a higher volume there. So, yeah. So,
Councillor Gamanda, did you have a question?
No, just sorry for my ignorance, just wanted to clarify in my head as well. So
Sure.
on the current water treatment plant reservoir, so we don't have the capacity that you mentioned for.
you do, so you look at that for the entire town, and and then you split it up. So it is there, but it's part of the overall picture as well. And so there still is firefighting capability from the water treatment plant.
Right.
Absolutely. So, but let's say you had a really high fire demand and the treatment plant did respond as needed, and the standby pump kicked in, and we fought a long battle with a fire from the water treatment plant. Then you have to refill that portion of the reservoir, and what you would have to do then for distribution is likely kick to Reservoir 2, and it would then cover base distribution while the treatment plant is then treating water and refilling the reservoir.
Okay.
Like you'd have to, it would all be balanced depending on where the water came from during certain events. So it's complicated.
So again, from my understanding, right now, I believe that we're doing everything from the water treatment plant reservoir, and then like he mentioned, the other one is just as a backup, right?
No, reservoir two is, so the water treatment plant is treating all your water.
Right.
It's disinfecting all your water.
Right.
Then you're pumping that to reservoir two. And then reservoir two is handling distribution and fire flow for the entire town currently.
That's right. So, but
Yeah.
the water treatment plant reservoir was built to kind of cater to
It'll
those.
start to take on more and more, yes.
Exactly, right? So
Yes.
would it be prudent to have all the operations happening on the reservoir one, via water treatment plant reservoir?
Sorry, could you say that again?
It's because the water treatment plant reservoir is new reservoir.
Yep.
And it's, I guess, advanced and all of
Yep.
that. Is it prudent to all that day-to-day stuff happening there rather than going back and forth? Would there be more issues, breakages, everything?
Oh, yeah, you want to try to avoid how all that happens and you don't want to do quick switching or anything like that. And so, yes, that's why I'm saying like the bulk of what we want to try to accomplish longer term is like have the treatment plant handle practically everything, right?
Okay.
On a long-term basis with additional storage supplemental fire flow, probably from reservoir two. And so we would have to kind of balance how that all works and make sure we're turning things over. But you are correct. That's
Okay, so
ultimately where
this is
we're
what
headed.
you're mentioning is just a temporary, and then in the end, we will be using the water treatment plant reservoir as the main reservoir for most of everything for day to day, and the other one will be just backup.
Correct.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Correct. Yes.
Councillor Ballas?
Seeing as we're in question period,
Sorry, she didn't quite get finished.
I just want to go back to Poplar Ridge.
Sure.
You mentioned in your new modeling that basically the system that you're developing now is exclusive of Poplar Ridge.
Correct.
What if Poplar Ridge wants to come on board down the line? Then what happens?
Very good question. So we've looked at how that would happen. And so the ultimate solutions that we are recommending here are meant to work with that in the event Poplar Ridge comes on. And so when I get to the conclusion, which is the pipe that I'm recommending that we put in the twinning, that is okay. That was still part of ultimately having Poplar Ridge in the location that we specify. Sorry, and I keep pointing to the graphic I brought with me that's not in the presentation, but that is meant to work with Poplar Ridge if it is there in the future for sure.
Thank you.
And then that would change when those PRV upgrades actually go, because then there's more demand, more pressure coming from the west, and that would change when you have to put those PRVs in. That's how it's all related. So.
Okay, I'll just take a question from Mr. Osmond and then I'll let you
Sure,
finish
Just
your
an
presentation.
additional clarification. So the additional piece that needs to be brought online to address those water flows at Poplar Ridge is a pump station, which was contemplated when that area was developed. And so there's an agreement surrounding the development of that pump station. But this all leads into making that possible, but it's the pump station that will actually bring those water flows that we're looking for.
Yeah, anything we are recommending here is all done in light of the master plan and kind of how the system's meant to be built out to make sure we don't bottleneck you at all from doing stuff in the future, so. Okay, you bet. I think it was down to, point 4. Ironically, that's what I just said. So we want to ensure any upgrades that are put in don't cause challenges with implementation of other upgrades as Drayton continues to grow into the future. Part 5 is important. And so I really, really, really wanted to try to use as much infrastructure that is in place now as possible to keep costs down. And so one of the key things I looked at was the existing dedicated main that's in 56th Avenue, which runs to Reservoir 1. I really wanted to explore repurposing this main as much as possible because the pipe is there, and right now it's essentially just a dedicated feed to a hydrant that's outside of Reservoir 1. I really wanted to try to reuse that. So key findings. So the challenge is getting enough flow and pressure west from the water treatment plant as efficiently as possible. You remember the water treatment plant's up in your northeast corner. And so what's right next to that is essentially residential development is between the water treatment plant and the main downtown core. And then you've got all the industry and higher demand developments on the west of town. And so that distribution network, think of it like, let's go to arteries and veins and capillaries. And so you've got your pipe size through most of your distribution system on the west side, or on the east side, pardon me, where it's residential, is 150 millimeters in size, which is small. And you can think of that like a capillary in your skin. And as we move more to downtown, it starts getting a little bit wider pipe size, and then most of the newer development is on the west of town, and that stuff has really good pipe sizes. And so there's a bit of a challenge there, trying to get larger volumes of water at higher pressure from where the treatment plant is to those high demand areas, because in between is a network of capillaries essentially. So if I were to explain it like that. And that is part 2. That's the challenge there. So part 3 of the key findings is I tried to repurpose that 250 Main and 56th Ave as much as possible, and actually adding new tie-ins to it at 44th Street and 50th Street. But it turns out the diameter is not sufficient for all demand conditions. But what we did find was that the 56th Ave corridor is still key for getting water to higher demand locations in the south and west areas of Drayton. We did try to also repurpose the feed to Reservoir 2, but again, it was just too challenging to kind of get those flows across quickly to where we need them to go. So the final, next slide, please. So our recommended solution is ultimately to twin the existing 250 Main in 56 Ave and make critical connections to a new pipe. So twinning this pipe with a new 350 millimeter diameter pipe is what is needed. The new 350 millimeter pipe from the water treatment plant essentially all the way out to 50th Street in 56th Avenue would be the alignment. We would make critical connections to your distribution network at 50th Street and 44th Street via 300 millimeter connections. And it does not require us to actually connect at 38th Street, which is good. This solution does not require any new additional PRVs beyond what is currently existing. And that's thanks to the modeling work and carefully looking at hydraulic grade lines. Point 3, we also do recommend reconnecting the reservoir number 1, and I apologize, there's a typo, it should say 250 Main, not 205. To an existing 350 millimeter main at the location of 52nd Avenue and about 52nd Street, which is just outside of this building. We are taking advantage of that 250 millimeter main that sits there. So next slide, please. This is a graphic to talk about what I just said. So your treatment plant is here. You have that current 250 main that runs down, goes all the way down here to Reservoir 1. We want to twin it from essentially the water treatment plant all the way out to 50th, and then make a small connection and reconnect some of your network pipes down here. And then essentially from the treatment plant, what would be feeding the town primarily would be the new 350 main out to here with critical connections here. And there's another one right there. Right there we would make. And that one's through a grassed area right now. This one we would have to deal with asphalt and that sort of stuff. And then we would have to deal with repairing and dealing with asphalt down here to make that connection. But then what that gives you is that gives you a larger diameter main from the treatment plant feeding into the higher demand areas much faster than normal. And it also gives that existing 250 main that also gives it the ability to now supply the network in the downtown core, which really strengthens how you're bringing water and pressure to the downtown, which then allows it to go, and this isn't on the screen, but to the west, to the industrial areas. And so that was key. And what this does is bypassing the 150 network that's on the residential area, which I alluded to earlier as being kind of the capillaries. So next slide, please. So you might have some questions related to this, and I tried to anticipate some of them. So the previous water master plan work, and this speaks to your point, Councillor Ballas, was does this kind of compromise anything that we recommended in the plans? And the answer is no. So the water treatment plant, or the water master plan in 2016 recommended actually getting rid of the 250 main and putting a brand new 500 millimeter pipe in 56 Ave. And so by twinning the existing 250 with a new 350, that is essentially what we call an engineering and equivalent diameter. And so we are doing that now. And so question 2, so what if the existing 250 main fails in the future? It is a cement lined steel pipe, but when we did the upgrade project for the water treatment plant, we did cut sections of that pipe out and we did look, and we still actually have the pieces, I believe. It is in really good shape. And so I do believe it will last for quite a while longer. But what happens if there's a problem and that steel main fails? Well, at that time, if you've got the new 350 in place, you can actually replace sections of that. Because the new 350 is in place, you would be able to knock out that 250 and deal with replacing it. You would get a slight reduction in fire flow provisions with only the 350 pipe, but it would be temporary. And then you might have a question, do we really have to make the connection at Reservoir 1? The answer is no, but it does really help with fire flows. And so I did put in some data here, just so you can understand the importance of making these connections. And so if you have the new connection, like we're proposing for Reservoir 1, it boosts your fire flow up to values of 150 to 200 liters a second in the downtown core. And then that also helps, like I said, bring those flows and pressures further west. If you don't do it, it shows that what you're able to bring and deliver still is an improvement, but it only gets you about 100 liters a second in the downtown. And then by comparison, without actually twinning it, what you're currently getting, according to the model, is about 61 liters a second. And if you look at the fire underwriter survey with respect to fire flow provisions for commercial properties, things like that, you need to be north of 100 liters a second, typically. So,
May I ask a question?
you bet.
Okay, yeah, thank you.
Go ahead.
So I guess the master plan recommended 500 millimeter pipe. How much of a savings are we getting from putting a 350 instead of a 500?
How much of a savings?
Just thinking of, if we put a 500 pipe as the new one as well, so we don't have to worry about the other one failing, and we
Yep.
can just
Yep.
retire that, right? Without.
Yeah. You could, but then you would have to do some additional, can I come back to council with an answer on that?
Sure, yeah, thank you.
Okay, because if you take the 250 out of service, then the connection that we propose, the minor connection at Reservoir 1 won't work, and we have to do some additional pipe to connect up within your downtown core, and so that would add to the cost. I can look at that for you guys for sure, so.
Yeah, no, just thinking, if we deal with that and then we're good for a while after that, right? So we don't have to worry about the old pipe.
You'd be good for a while for here too. And then what we envisioned, and one of the reasons why this recommendation was on, because then in the future, if you were to add Poplar Ridge and start pumping again from the west, you would have additional pressure coming into the distribution system from that side. And so you'd be okay with what we were recommending ultimately. And right now, pipe pricing is kind of going through the roof. And so higher diameter mains, installing those is actually quite costly at this point in time. So that's one of the, like I said, I'd have to look at it. It's like every time I go to a supplier for numbers, they'll give me a number for installation, and then they'll say, check back with me tomorrow because it's going to change. So, so speaking of costs.
I do see, sorry. I do see some hands are going up, but I'm going to let you finish your presentation. You have a couple more.
Sure, yeah,
slides,
I'm
and then we'll go into questions.
Pretty close. So I did do, the next slide, please, would be, I did do a breakdown budget for the town's benefit to understand what we're proposing, what it would kind of cost. And so I worked through everything, and the details are on the screen, but that includes all the connections. As well, you have to do some additional pump modifications and kind of look at a few things at the water treatment plant, as well as the SCADA and reservoir control programming changes, which I identified down here. So I've included for that as well, because you're going to have to do some work to make sure that the systems work as you want and you don't have any pressure issues, and you can control it properly. The operations team would be very upset if every time they switched between facilities, it was causing problems. So And I did provide for contingency and an engineering estimate in there. So about 2.7 is where I had that marked at. And I will note the current price that I got for supply and install of a 350 HDPE DR11 water main. And I'm expecting you guys to probably want to install that by horizontal directional drilling, because that seems to be better and we can limit the amount of surface restoration that we're doing. And you've got about 1,600 meters for that. The pricing that I obtained from a contractor that I was talking to was around $700 a meter for supply and install. And so that's the bulk of the price, and pipe pricing has gone up significantly in the last little bit. So that's where the bulk of that cost comes from. You could, and this is the next slide, please, depending on budgets, you could look at splitting it into phases. And so this first phase, I suggested is phase 1 to get you to 44th Street. This does still provide benefit and would allow you to begin pumping from the treatment plant and allow you then to subsequently take Reservoir 2 down and do all the work you needed to do there. I would recommend at that time, though, that you're still, if you were to split it into phases, you're doing all the modifications you still need to at the treatment plant, and you're still looking at the SCADA programming. This just takes out some of the restoration work that you would need at 50th Street and at Reservoir 1. But you would still have mobilization costs and all that sort of stuff if you split it into 2 separate contracts. So next slide would be phase 2, which would then take you and complete it from 44th Street to 50th Street, and as well as the connections at Reservoir 1. And so those costs are just kind of repeated in here. And I've dropped out the treatment plant modifications and the SCADA modifications, and then provided a budget for those. So it's a little bit more to kind of break it up into phases. But if we go to the very last slide, I'll skip down to point 2. I would recommend, if you needed to, that you could only split it into construction phases, but do the engineering work that you need to do all at once. And now I'll skip back up to point 1. Which is because the prelim and detailed design engineering work needs to happen. While we've assessed the alignment on a conceptual level, there is a lot of existing utilities and crossings to figure out. If you can imagine going down 56th Ave and getting it to where we need it to go, that's going to require hydrovac work, survey. You would also need to do geotechnical investigations along the right-of-way to verify HDD drilling parameters. We would then need to actually design the water main alignment fully along with all the detailed connections. We would have to look at the water treatment plant pump and control system modifications, and then of course provide you with a tender package that you could use, or whichever consultant is doing this work. When I look at the scope, it's if you can get going early in the spring here and get your kind of field work lined up, you can probably have design work kind of completed by the end of July. I'm suggesting at that point that you can then go into tender and contract award by the end of the year, which would allow you potentially to begin to work with the contractor on pre-procurement of pipes, valves, and fittings, which based on other projects that we're doing for other municipalities are having procurement challenges at the moment, especially with larger diameter. And so that's one of the reasons why I tried to keep the diameter down, because large diameter stuff is sometimes, we're told, 52 weeks. For delivery for single pieces of valving and stuff like that. It's crazy what's happening in the industry. So we tried to balance that with our recommendations. So you could then go and proceed, having awarded it by the end of this year, you could then proceed with spring start of construction next year and have it completed by the fall of 2024. I don't anticipate it taking a large amount of work. It's just getting the equipment and the materials and everything in place, get the crossings in place, get all that done. And then the field work shouldn't be too bad after that. Then once that's done, the next steps would be to kind of focus on southeast pressure zone and getting that fixed, and carrying on from there. So that's essentially the end of my update. So more questions?
Thank you very much
Sure,
for that.
you bet.
I'll start with Councillor Evans.
You bet.
So I guess if we leave the other pipe to the north there, our main distribution there, we end up with a little bit more volume, another 100 millimeters between the two. But does that change when you put it all into one pipe? Anyway, we're not giving up any capacity by
no.
going with
No.
with two smaller pipes as opposed to the larger pipe. And you're comfortable that that pipe that's existing is in good enough shape to give us some lifespan out of it?
Yep.
Okay.
So that's the, when I talked about equivalent diameter in engineering speak, that's what
Yeah.
I was going after. We wanted to make sure that the friction loss, the flows, the pressures, everything we could get through a two-pipe system still satisfied all the demand conditions. Absolutely.
That we'd get
Right.
with.
That was all
with a
done with the
larger one.
modeling. Yes,
Okay. And no PRVs.
correct.
That's surprising, but welcome news.
Just to clarify that,
Okay.
that's based on current build, right? That's based on current build of the town and current, what you have going on for growth right now. If you were to add significant areas, you would have, and so this is, we're also, when I mentioned the HGL at the water treatment plant pumps, that refers to the hydraulic grade line. So that's the amount of pressure we are providing from that pumping system to get us out into the distribution to satisfy demand conditions. That level is set, we're trying to derate those pumps and pump them at a slightly lower pressure than they were originally designed. And that is to eliminate the need for having to put in additional PRVs. And that was, again, to try to keep the costs down and try to show you could go to water treatment plant pumping full-time with just this twin pipe at this point in time. But as demands come up, you have to then start looking at adding the PRVs.
So you're going to have to push harder out of the water treatment plant to supply additional
Correct.
additional development, which would then pressure up the entire system that you'd have to
A little bit
control
higher, correct.
with a PRV in
Correct.
certain places.
The critical areas that would be directly impacted would be the northeast, which you actually already have PRVs for. You have River Ravine Estates, which is already protected by PRVs in the southeast pressure zone, which we would then shift to being managed by the dedicated pump, and that's the difference there. And so if we can repair Reservoir 2 and get that pump up and operational and get that line fixed and get southeast pressure zone operating like it's supposed to, then you're right, that eliminates the need for doing any additional PRVs right now.
And the problem with Reservoir 2 is the coupler that ties that pump you're referring to into that area it goes under the floor and it's in the
water.
reservoir. So
In the
you need to
water.
drain the reservoir and then do the fix and then
And then refill it. You are
clean it,
correct.
refill it.
Correct. It's unfortunate, but that's.
Ever
that's how it
tried
is.
floating a boat in there? And actually, I've done that, but not for that big a
Yeah,
repair. That's a pretty big repair to do floating in a
yeah.
boat.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I'm glad that we don't have a lot of PRVs there because they're a high maintenance item and it seems you're always messing with them.
Yeah, we don't like.
I
'em if
think
you
it's a
don't.
little more money than we had originally looked at, of course. And that's the kicker, I guess, that council's going to have to chew on and
Right.
see what we can come up with. Okay, that's about it for me. It makes sense. It's not all good news, but it makes sense. Thank you.
You're welcome. It's complicated, but
Yeah,
Yeah.
it sure is. So you mentioned a grant was from AMWWP, that was for phase one. Is there still an opportunity to apply for additional grants from AMWWP?
can always try. The province, and usually that program is typically for treatment upgrades and things of that nature. They tend, at least in the past, this has been my experience, they use AMWIP for treatment and provision of bulk water, and they always classify distribution upgrades as the purview of the municipality to deal with under regular rates and that sort of thing. So, but we can still try.
Counselor Ballas?
Thank you. Based on this model, what sort of population growth can this model supply?
From what this currently handles, you know what? That's the one thing I'll look that up and provide that to you after. Is that all right? I don't have that.
Aren't we at
and-
something like 20% or of our capacity of
Right. Capacity has gone down.
Okay.
Right, because population dropped and is in fact staying stable. So this should still last you for, if you actually look at the 2016 master plan, sorry, what's the current population? Can I ask that first? 7,000? Okay, so this implementation of this main and 56 Ave is actually was at the time in 2016 was meant to handle your 10-year horizon for growth, which would be a population of close to 11,000 people. So there's still room there if you did this to service what you have. There you go. That's the answer.
Did you have an additional question, Bill?
No, thank you.
No, did you have a follow-up, Rick? Okay, I'm just going to go to Rick first.
And the water treatment plant itself was built to manage a significant population increase, was it not?
Mhm.
30,000 or something it's
Yep.
got the capacity for?
Yeah, it's got a capacity of 18 megaliters per day.
Yeah, so our distribution system is the issue, not our ability to supply that water.
Correct. Correct.
Okay.
Councillor Gamana?
Or just, I guess, what is the lifespan of when we put the pipes in and all that?
Oh, with
What's
that new pipe? Oh,
Yeah.
geez, 50 years plus for
Right.
that type of pipe. Yeah.
Okay, so we should be looking at a 50-year lifespan of population growth as well, right? So
For
we-
that, yeah.
if we don't, okay, sounds good. Thank you.
You bet.
Councillor Evans?
Is there, would there be an opportunity since we are increasing our firefighting volume supply, correct?
Mhm.
Might there be an opportunity to go at it from that angle? Is there any money available for increasing our preparedness? I know there are some smaller amounts out there. I know we used some when we did the generator
Mhm.
in Breton there. I don't know if it's significant enough, but just a suggestion to look into possibly,
Sure.
just in case.
Sure.
Yeah, good idea. Any other questions? Sure. Avid, did you want to come down to the mic just because we do have a few people online?
Just quick question. So, how long it will take to repair the coupler part?
Oh, for the southeast pressure zone? So we have to get in, we have to see, we're speculating right now that it's the coupler that's failed that let go. We would, to ultimately repair it once we get in, and what we can do is actually as part of that work we were starting to write up is actually rather than draining it down and going in and physically looking at it is to send in a remote operated vehicle, take pictures and video of what's failed, figure out the coupler, get that on order, get all that set, work with a contractor on an implementation strategy and get that done quickly. I would imagine the repair itself would take less than a day. But it's the draining, the filling, and the cleaning, which would take longer. And there's ways you can do it. If you just let a guy go in with his boots and everything like that, then you're going to be cleaning a lot more. If we pay attention to the specifications relative to accessing the facility and they're all gowned up and they're all disinfected prior to going in, you can speed things up that way. So like a couple days most to get it going.
So in those couple days, can we supply water from the main water treatment plant?
Yeah,
and
you
keep
would have
going
to. You would
Yeah.
have to. Yeah.
As is, without upgrading?
No.
Thank you for the question. Councillor Evans, one more question?
Sorry, one last one. And I guess, I don't know when the last time that reservoir was cleaned or inspected. So, and that's a requirement. So that gives us another opportunity. You know, I don't know if you want to consider a diver either because they're around quite a bit.
Yeah,
I don't know what the difference in
That's why I'm
cost is.
suggesting the ROV, because now they don't even send divers in anymore. Now he stands on the access hatch and it's this remote controlled submersible that goes in and does the inspection for us, looks at all the corners to determine sludge and how much cleaning we have to do. All that stuff can be done at once. So they can look at the coupler. They could also do a sweep through the reservoir and verify if it needs to be desludged or anything like that, for sure.
Okay, fair enough.
There's efficiencies with that, so.
Thank you. Councillor Ballas?
Thank you. In priority of urgency, where would you rate this?
Well, you've got Reservoir 2 fixed right now, and so you're back to proper operations of those pumps. This is I would classify this in terms of the distribution system as a high priority project for sure. So this gives you the full redundancy in your systems that you need, so.
Well, thank you very much for the
welcome.
report today. I think that you've given us a lot of information that we have to absorb, and then I
Sure.
think we have to decide on how we want to complete the design, and if we're wanting to look at what phases for the
Right.
cost of the construction, whether we want to split that or go in whole, or, you know, like you said, this is a high priority, right? So we need to go back to the table and have a bit of discussion, I think, when it comes to what the next steps are. There is a motion, I think, that you're looking, excuse me, for today, and that would be to accept as information only, or to accept as information and direct ISL to do complete design and split the construction. But I think we need to have a little bit of a further discussion of what we want to do. So I will ask for a member of council to make a motion, please, so we can give administration some direction here. Councillor Evans?
I'll make the motion to accept this report for information at this time.
Perfect. Thank you very much for that. Any comment, question, or debate on the motion? Then I'll ask all in favor. That is carried. Thank you very much. We
You're
really
welcome.
appreciate
Thank you.
you giving us. Well, welcome back, everybody. We'll reconvene the meeting at 11:08 a.m. and jump back into our decision items. 9.2, Food Cycler, Organic Waste Diversion Year 2, 2023 Pilot Project. Ken, come on down. Still think we should have the Price is Right music playing when I say that. Good morning.
Good morning, Your Worship and Council. In 2022, the town participated in an organic waste recycling pilot project with Drayton Valley residents. 100 2.5 liter units were purchased by local residents at $150 each. The town matched funding by contributing $100 for each, and a grant administered by the FCS Corporation covered the remaining $250. At the regular council meeting on the 11th, council heard the results of the pilot. It was a great success. So as a result, administration is proposing that the town participate in a second year pilot project, targeting numbers 1 and 2. So basically what we're recommending is two things that came out of the results were they wanted larger capacity and maybe some commercial applications. So what we're looking at is adding, signing up for 250 units, 150 2.5 liter residential units at $500 each, which the cost would break down to the same formula with the town subsidizing 100, the resident paying 150, and the corporation paying 250, and 100 units of the 5 liter residential units, which are 750 apiece. So the town again would pay $100. The resident would pay $300, and the remaining $350 would be paid by the corporation. There are, I guess the total net cost for the town would be $32,000 plus shipping and some supplies. and GST. The total outlay would be about $85,000. There are options that are presented in the report for council to consider, but administration feel we can cover those off. Option one is an affordable option, and basically that's taking, we could allocate out of our 150 2.5 liter, a higher subsidy rate of 175, so that there's a lower cost to the senior or the whatever group it would be. Option two is their smallest commercial unit, which is an 80 liter. It's a big outlay at 20 grand. So it's a big commitment, and there's no grant funding for this component. So there really isn't much reason to package this with with our agreement under the grant. So, I mean, any commercial business could purchase one of these and go for it. So, and then option three is packaging 5 of the 5 liter residential units into sort of a commercial application. And so we can take 5 of our 100 unit and make that application if that's so desired as well. So the recommendation is for 250 units in all, 150, 2.5, 100 units of 5 at a cost of 32,000 plus shipping GST.
Perfect. Thank you very much for that. Any questions for Ken? So just looking at the options, you have option 1, 2, and 3. Could we go with option 1 and option 2 or option 3? Sorry. So there's the residential and the commercial.
Yeah, what the corporation was proposing that we purchased additional 25 for option 1, for example. These would all be additional purchases, and I'm just proposing that we can do these with the allotment we've got, which is a significant amount from the 100 we have to go to 250. So,
So we would, so option 1 is we would, are you saying that we'd get 250 units or increase it to 250 units?
no, what I'm proposing is number 1 and 2, which is not it's not listed as an option. So out of those, what I'm saying is out of those 150 or those 100 5 liter units, we can accommodate, we're flexible enough. It's basically adjusting council's subsidy so we can provide those options through those units that we're already getting. We just would, the council would just pay more or less based on, so we can take those units and make those options happen without purchasing more additional units.
Okay. I guess what I was looking at is I was looking at the size, right? Because the pilot project was the 2.5 liter units, correct?
Yes.
And then here it's got the 2.5, the 80, of course, which is the commercial. And then the commercial, which would be double that, would be the 5. So what I was suggesting is, could we get a certain amount of the 2.5 liters and then a certain amount of the 5 liters, just so people have the choice or the option, right? And if you're looking at commercial, then you could, purchase those or.
Yes,
Is that what you're saying?
that is the proposal, 150, 2.5 and 100, 5.0 liters.
Okay, gotcha.
So,
So we're saying the same thing.
yeah. So essentially, we're ordering 250 units. now.
Okay, thank you.
If we went for the options the way they're proposed, we'd be adding another 25 units and another 5 units for each commercial application, and then the big one.
And then are we expected to track, like as part of the pilot project, we were all the,
It would be the same process as
same?
we used last year. They would be doing the evaluation, but we're going to need somebody to manage it.
okay, so it'd be the exact same thing. Okay, perfect. Councilor Sheriff, did you have a question?
I did. For the commercial ones, have we done any kind of research to see how many businesses will be interested in purchasing one?
Not for the big one, like $20,000 ones. Certainly we can do that. That could be part of our communications. But what came back from the results that we heard at the last council meeting was there were a few businesses that wanted the commercial application. So by packaging, the FCS said that if we packaged 5 liters together, that would provide 25-liter capacity, which would handle most restaurants and stuff like that.
And there was residents that were wanting the bigger, right? So now it gives you the option of keeping the regular size, going the bigger, and then, yeah, like Ken said, if you're a restaurant, you could grab a couple of them or.
That's what I was wondering about, like the 80-liter ones even, right? If there's a particular
Yeah.
restaurant that'd like us to bring one in, maybe just for them, right? It's, I mean,
Yep.
when you think about a restaurant, there's a lot of waste. It's 5 liters isn't gonna,
Yeah, we'd have to
Hold
have a
much.
pre-sale, Council Sheriffs, because, yeah, 20 grand.
That's a lot of money, yeah.
We'd,
Yeah.
we'd have to make, yeah, we'd have to go out and find a taker.
Counselor Evans?
So are we going to offer some of these, some of the 105-liter units to restaurants or
Yes.
commercial entities?
That's an
Okay.
option. We're flexible enough in what we're proposing that we can take some of the 100 units that we're ordering and make them commercial applications.
Right, they just have to line up
And I
a few of them.
asked about and they said, because they're still residential units, the grant does provide funding for those. The minute
Okay.
we order a commercial unit, there's no grant funding.
Yeah, gotcha.
Gotcha.
So it's a good opportunity for a business to try them anyway, and if they find it
Yeah,
works really
exactly.
well, they could then look at one of those big units maybe, because that's a pretty good outlay just to try something.
Exactly. Counselor Ballas?
Thank you. Two things. The number is a little aggressive. Question, was there a waiting list for these units?
Councilor Ballas, yes, my understanding there was.
Secondly, budgeting, where would you,
It would come out of our energy budget, 240-64, which has sufficient funding to cover that.
Just to add on to that, Counselor Ballas, that there was a waiting list. I know that people that signed up were really excited and because we only had 100 machines available, there where everybody was, you know, I hope I get my name drawn. I hope I get picked. I hope I get picked, just because everybody seemed to have wanted one, especially Counselor Clark. He couldn't wait to get one on his, his kitchen counter, him and his family. Yeah, definitely. Counselor Gamana.
I was thinking the same line. So 150, and then we are proposing another 100 as well for 5.0 units.
Yes.
So altogether 250. How much of a waiting list do we have?
Well, there is, in the contract, we'll be aggressive in communicating out to the public that these are available. And the contract or the agreement does allow us to return them if they're unsold within
Does allow.
a year. So really, there's not a great deal of risk.
Okay, yeah. If that's the case, yeah, perfect. Thank you.
Yeah, it's nice that there is that. If we don't sell them, we don't. And then also, there's a business in town that's selling the filters and everything like that.
Yes.
Could we, I guess, you know, advertise? I was just thinking that we'd want to market the exact same as we did the last time because it was so successful. So we'd want to put it out there the same. And I don't know, maybe if that business could help us because I know she said that people are coming in and getting filters and she's almost out and, you know, she was wanting to know about more machines and stuff like that as well. So maybe we could use them as a bit of a marketing piece as well to help.
Yes, they'll certainly, we'll have to work closely with that business again, just as we did last year.
Yeah. Any other questions? Not, I'm needing a counselor to make a motion, please. Counselor Evans, are you ready to do that?
You bet.
Okay.
I'll make the motion that council directs administration to proceed with year 2 of the food cycler project, pilot project as presented.
Thank you very much for that. Any comment, question, or debate on the motion? I just want to make a comment that I know that I was part of the pilot program when it initially kicked off, and I think it's a great program. Excited that we're getting another opportunity to have it back in the community. I know when you had, or when we were presented with the stats and everything at our last council meeting, it was nice to be able to see how much waste diversion had happened through this process. And I know going forward, we're always looking at solutions when it comes to our landfill. So I think every little bit counts, and I'm really excited to be able to kick this off and share this with the community again. Councillor Ballas?
Thank you. I wonder if we should just add subject to receiving the grant.
Through the ballot, Council Ballas, I believe that's part of the agreement. That will be in the agreement that cost is covered by FCS Corporation. So that cost breakdown would be the same. What I've outlined for you today would be I guess, reflected in that agreement that we would sign with them.
And they presented at the last council meeting. You weren't here, Bill. And the FCM has already received the funds. It was additional grant funding that they received this year because of the success all across, is it Canada, on the pilot project that ran. So they had an increase in funds.
Yeah, thank you. From what I understand, though, we have a deadline of May or something like that.
March
I'm not
1st,
sure
we
if
have
made
to-
the application yet or not,
March 1st, we have to sign it, let them know.
but for the grant.
Well, they have the grant. They administer the grant. We're signing the agreement with them to be able to access that grant funding that they manage. Yeah, we're not applying for a grant.
We've already got it, yeah. Councillor Gamana?
Oh,
No, just wondering, you know, for a previous participant with a smaller one, is there a way to exchange it to a bigger one?
Well, I guess they're double the size, and that was the complaint that I think they're about that. The small ones are about like that, so you can see they wouldn't hold a lot of waste, and so I think the demand that came through the results was for larger units, so double the size, so it'd be at least about the size of a 5-gallon pail, somewhere in there, and.
So before we announce that the pilot project is coming back, you have time to sell your machine because it's a hot item out there right now. You'll probably have ample offers on that. So I would say get it for sale now. Wink, wink, and we'll see what happens. So Councillor Evans had put a motion on the table, and that is the motion was to. Yeah, I'm like, what happened to the year 2 of the pilot? Perfect. Thank you very much for that. And I will now ask all in favor on the motion. And that is carried. Thank you very much. And I think before we carry on, we might go into, should we go into a close now, or do we want to do that after lunch? And just kind of go through the rest?
One of the items we have in the closed session, we've asked Jason to join us for. So it might be valuable if we can start that closed session now.
Okay,
before
perfect.
lunch.
So I think prior just to going into closed, I know we wanted to get a picture as well. So
Yeah.
maybe if we want to do that, and then we can, I can have a counselor move us into closed, and then we'll take the picture. Counselor Clark, thank you. I'll ask all in favor. That is carried. We will move into closed at 11:24 a.m. and we'll take a picture. Back to order at 1:36 p.m. And we are still on our decision items. We're on 9.3 community grants, first quarter allocation of the year. Lola.
Good afternoon,
Good
Mayor and
afternoon.
Council. So we have our first quarter allocation community grants. There's an annual allocation each year with the administration budget that is set up for $25,000. In addition to that $25,000, which was approved once again for 2023, we also have the additional $3,496.25 that Council wished to carry forward from the 2022 community grants allocation. So in total, we have $28,496.25 available. We did receive 3 community events grants for this first quarter. The first one was the Black Gold Brute Obstacle Course Race, which is a brand new event. What they're asking for is $2,500, which would go towards their cost for insurance. What the event will be, it will be hosted in June. They're looking at doing a running obstacle course that will happen down by the Omniplex. It would be a run that would go like around the Omniplex, around the pool, around the baseball diamonds. What they're saying is it's going to bring lots of different people in from outside the community, as folks who travel that circus travel up to 8 hours just to attend these events. So that's the first application that was received, and it does meet the criteria. The second application that was received was from the Rotary Club of Drayton Valley. They're hosting their 10th annual Black and White Ladies Diamond Gala, which will be hosted on April 1st, 2023. They're asking for $1,000 to contribute to that event. It's a huge annual fundraising event that the Rotary Club hosts each year. And with the funds, they support all different types of community initiatives. There's too many to list of all the things that they support with that fundraising initiative. The last application that we received was from Variety of the Children's Charity Club. It's their second annual Drayton Valley Go Baby event, which will be hosted on June 2nd. They're asking for $1,500 for that event. That event was really well attended last year. It was the first one. I believe that some council members actually attended that event last year and built a car. So I believe they said they built 19 cars last year, and they're hoping to build 25 this year. And those cars will go towards supporting children with disabilities. So in total, the total request from all 3 applications is $5,000. The committee did meet and review the applications, and the recommendation is that council approves all 3 of the 2023 first quarter Town of Drayton Valley's community event grants allocations for a total of $5,000 as presented.
All right, thank you very much for that. Any questions for administration? Councillor Kamana.
Thank you. Just so I understand a little bit more about the first one, is that organized by a club, social club in community, or?
Yeah, it's a new committee. It's a new committee of folks who
Okay.
like to travel to other communities to do obstacle course races.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh. Can I make a motion then?
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you. I would like to make a motion that council approves the 2023 first quarter Town of Drayton Valley Community Grant allocation for a total of $5,000 as presented. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that. Any comment, question, or debate on the motion? I would just make the comment that they're all fantastic, I think, events. Well, I don't know about the obstacle course race. I think that'll be exciting coming to our community. And the Ladies Diamond Gala, it's nice to see that's back up and running, as it hasn't been able to the last couple of years. That's always very well received and fun in the community. And I know that Rotary Club does an amazing job of just always being there and supporting the community, and just so much that they do, and always with a huge smile on their face. So they're amazing. For the Variety of the Children's Charity, I did have the pleasure of attending last year, and I know that it was the first time that this event had been hosted here, and Drayton Valley ended up beating out Calgary. So that was pretty exciting. They were
nice.
pretty happy about that. And I think that outside of this, if this motion is carried today, then I would just maybe throw it out there that the town have a team and maybe go in it, because there was all sorts of organizations and businesses and stuff that had their own teams that were building cars. So maybe something to consider, that we could put a team or two together as well. So there is a motion on the table, and the motion is that council approve the 2023 first quarter Town of Drayton Valley's community grant allocations for a total of $5,000 as presented. Did you have a question? Oh, sorry, I thought maybe you did. And I'll ask all in favor. That is carried. I thought maybe I missed you over there when I was looking. I was like, I heard your hand tapping, so I was like, oh, did I miss you?
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Lola. Moving along the agenda, and we're moving to our Drayton Valley Municipal Library Board appointments. Hans?
Thank you, Madam Chair, and then through to the rest of council. So, of course, Doug, our library director, would be sometimes even coming down here and present, but I do that for him because he is taking a good vacation, and that started yesterday. So I'll be presenting this. So the Town of Drayton Valley Library Board currently has 8 trustees filled out of the 10 positions that are part of their bylaw. That means that at the moment we have a vacancy of 2 positions. The library board, after the meeting on December 8th, started their advertising to fill the position of the member at large. This goes through social media and of course gives the opportunity for people to respond. Erin Schultz was the one that responded to the call out for people to be part of the library board. And she has been invited on the 19th of January, a couple of days ago, to come to the library board, get acquainted with the board members themselves. And out of that meeting, they recommend the appointment of Erin Schultz to be part of the library board. The other position, which is a Brazeau County Council position, Brazeau County Council was asked, and they put forward Cody Brooks as one of the councillors to be part of the board as well. So with that, of course, it's the county that's asked to present that to us, but it's the council from Drayton Valley that appoints everybody to the board. So that includes this recommendation that's supported by the library board to nominate Cody Brooks as the council member representative for Brazeau County. So with that, basically in front of you, you have the 2 options that both require basically a motion. The first recommendation in the motion would be that Town Council appoints Erin Schultz as member at large to the Drayton Valley Municipal Library Board for a 3-year term expiring October 31st in 2025. And the second one that has to be made then as well is or at least to be considered, is council appoint Cody Brooks as Brazeau County's elected member to the Town of Drayton Valley Library Board for a term of 1 year expiring in 2023.
Thank you for that. Any questions for administration? Councillor Ballas, are you going to make a motion? Just keep in mind that potentially there'll be 2 motions made.
That's what my question was. Can we do that in one motion?
Yes, you can combine the motions if you like.
Okay. I move that Town Council appoint Erin Schultz as member at large to the Drayton Valley Municipal Library Board for a 3-year term expiring October 31st, 2025, and that council appoint Cody Brooks as Brazeau County's elected member to the Town of Drayton Valley Library Board for a 1-year term expiring October 31st, 2023.
Thank you very much for that. Any comment, question, or debate on the motion? And sure. Go ahead, Councillor Evans.
Yeah, we did, the library board did meet Erin. She attended the entire board meeting so she could get a feel for what we did. And we could get to know her a little bit, and I think she'll be an excellent addition to the board. Not sure about Cody, but we'll take him anyway. Of course, I'm just kidding. Cody attended as well, and he did a fine job.
So thank you very much for that. So there's a motion on the table, and I'll ask all in favor. That is carried. Thank you very much, Hans, for that. And moving along, that wraps up our decision items on the agenda, and we'll move into our department reports. Our first report is Planning and Growth Department report, and this is Ken. Come on down. Good afternoon.
Okay, Your Worship Council, we're well into 2023, and so that brings us to our engagement phase of our municipal development plan process. We're going to be moving forward with that part of the the project, and sort of the first stab at that will be to host a advisory committee meeting fairly soon and just kind of take stock of where we are, all the background research and documents that we were working on last fall. In conjunction with that, we're going to be conducting our downtown revitalization survey in February online. And it's this time of year to start preparing our Alberta Building Code, Safety Code Audit Report for the province. So we're putting together our stats and information for that. And that's due March 31st. And of course, we talked about the food cycler project this morning, and I have all the building audit reports, and I have to report that the project came in under budget. So that concludes my report.
Thank you very much for that. And as you started off your report, I was reminded that I think I'm swinging by your office after the meeting today. You just reminded me. I was like, did I miss that meeting? Hopefully I didn't. It's been a little crazy. Are there any questions this afternoon for Ken? No? Okay, well, thank you very much for that. Moving along the agenda, we'll move to our Municipal Services Department report. Abid.
Madam Mayor, members of the council, good afternoon. Municipal services, our parks staff, they have been busy with the widening of paths and chipping ice on the walkways, maintaining ice rinks, and taking down the Christmas lights. Utilities, water treatment plant, annual report for Alberta Environment is almost ready to be submitted. Similarly, wastewater treatment plant annual report for environment is ready to be submitted. Accelerated testing for the acute lethality which was going on, that has been stopped. Our 3 consecutive samples have passed, and we don't have to do it anymore on an accelerated pace. And then for the Infrastructure Canada grants, we have submitted the updates, and the final report will be submitted towards the end of February. This grant was for the berm rehabilitation at the wastewater treatment plant. Distribution fire hydrant was hit by a motor vehicle at 50th Street and Highway 22. It has been fixed now. Yesterday, there was another hit. Another fire hydrant was hit at 58th Avenue. We have found the truck, and they will be following up with them for the cost recovery. Public Works, regular cleanup of the parking lots is ongoing, and then installing signs around town, helping park with the ice rinks, and the regular, operation and maintenance is ongoing. Similarly, landfill, all operations are going on. The usual stuff is going. And we talked about 50th Avenue this morning. We talked about water distribution this morning. So if you have any more questions, we can talk.
Thank you very much for that. Any questions for Abid? Monica?
Moving office desk chairs around the different town sites. I have questions. What are we moving around?
Well, I've been told that if they, for example, for this, with the new pool opening up, and they were busy with some furniture move. Yeah.
All right, thank you.
I was kind of looking at the table. It's like, are we playing a game, moving office chairs around different town sites? Is that find your chair?
Chairs literally, or if you're meaning people are, changing positions or. Yeah. Bringing them chairs to work sites, nice. Nice.
Councillor Camana, good question.
Thank you. No, I'm just wondering how's the snow cleanup is going. Have you done one sweep of the town already? And we are okay. So
Oh, there's snow coming. Councillor Vallis, did you have a question?
Do we not have our own vac truck? So I see we rented one. Was there a reason?
What I have been told, this vac truck, the big one they bought last year, the winterization package was not included when they bought it. So there is a fear of getting water frozen in that. That's why, and I have started getting some quotes from the company who supplied that. I'm not sure, they have given me some different options. I'm not sure whether it is all the options are included for, that is for 31,000 to make it winterize so that it is year round, it can do year round operation. Or it is only 8,000. So I will check and get back in my next update.
Sure.
So we have to do that. That's right. But somehow, I don't know what they have done in the past, but nobody checked that it was for year-round operation or not when they bought it.
Summer only, eh?
Yes.
Okay, so I do have a few questions. Scale House still maintaining the tipping fees?
So what they mean, they are not, we increased the fee
Yeah,
and somehow they are still using the old fee system.
oh, okay, so they're still,
Yeah.
and we're still, because the town took the Scale House over, right? So that's us still, like the town of Drayton Valley.
Yeah.
Okay, that was my one question. Another one, ice rinks. We had received a couple messages that they weren't being cleared. I think that was the outdoor rink
Yeah.
at Discovery Park. So they're all being kind of maintained and cleared and flooded and everything?
That's my understanding. Our guys are doing that.
Okay, okay. Just to make sure. And I think the reason why is I did hear the comment somewhere that since we have stopped doing snow removal on our downtown core so we could focus more on our trails and our paths and the skating rinks, that we weren't focusing. So just, I have to ask, right? Just to make sure that we're keeping those up and flooding and we're focused. Are you asking me to focus or? And all that, as well as, and I had a little bit of confusion for taking down the Christmas lights. So what about the lights across here at the skating rink? Those are staying, like the blue lights? I know there's the tree and then there's the lights.
Yeah. Keeping.
Yeah, the lights on the tree are coming down because they're festive lighting.
Yeah,
But the lights over the skating surface
okay.
are designed to stay.
Okay, perfect. And I just wanted to make sure as, when we were at the sustainability meeting, I forgot to message you. We had talked about, that EPBR, since they're not going to be doing it this year, they'd still like for us to continue the fire and ice portion of it. So we were talking about moving the skating not only indoors, but to outdoors. So that's why we thought we could use the outdoor rinks here. And we just wanted to make sure they were going to be lit up and they could have a fire and everything like that. But you have clarified that, so that's fantastic. That'll make it Family Day, I think, a success, and everybody can be using our rinks. So that's kind of, I guess, a reminder too, is that that's one thing that came out of our sustainability committee meeting is that, and I think that the town is the town in charge of the actual event now, Hans? Yes? Okay, so we're kind of taking, yeah, so we'll want to make sure that our ice rinks outdoors are cleared and the paths and sidewalks for Family Day, because we will be, I think the plan is to be using those now as well, just a heads up too.
We'll make sure.
Yeah, and also, when are you planning to do the landfill presentation to us on?
I was planning to do on 8th.
Okay.
8th and
Of February?
of February.
Okay.
But There's a but.
Okay.
I will try to finish, I've been so busy with the other stuff and I couldn't find a quiet 2 days to finish this off. I will try to finish this. I'm going on a vacation from February 3rd to 6th. I will try to finish it before that. If I could not, then I will do it the next meeting.
Okay, thank you.
Is that okay?
Yeah, that's fine. As long as we know it's coming. I know
Yeah,
that it's
it's
coming in the new year, so it'd be nice if it's not at the next council, then the one after, then
Yeah.
that gives you a little bit of time. And
Yes.
we want to ensure that you're enjoying your holiday time, downtime a little bit too. That's important.
Only 2 days.
Only 2 days. It's good that you have a great 2 days. And then my last question is metal sign project. Is that with planning? Is that with growth or is that with you? We were supposed to have a presentation, so.
Yeah, I believe that Shelley was the
Shelley
person
was
who was
the lead on that?
coordinating that. We just need to put a proposal of what the project looks like altogether.
Sorry. I was under the impression that that was dropped. Metal signs were dropped.
No, there was supposed to be a presentation of everything coming back.
They were dropped from the budget
Yeah.
so that we could rescope the project
Yes.
altogether. So it's that piece that we have to bring back to council.
Yeah, and I think that it's important because we do have a partner that's actually looking at supporting or being part of this project. So it'd be nice if you could bring that presentation. We can have discussion and then maybe bring in the third party as well to be part of it. I know it was going to be a costly project, so
Okay.
if we could get that. I know that I thought it was coming in the new year as well. Councillor Evans.
I know your field staff had knocked the snow back on 45th Ave by that new school there. We had talked about that so people can park. They can kind of straddle the curb there and get off the road a little bit. Across the street from that school, so behind IGA, right in front of the new school there. If we could push that material back on the west side of the road, about a blade width, that will give people room to park there to pick up their kids, because that street gets just packed at 3. And what that'll also do is that'll give us a windrow that'll catch the snow, so it'll start to drift on that windrow instead of, it's right at the edge of the road right now, and it's just gonna, if we get some snow blowing across that field, it's gonna drift right across the road. So all I'm looking for is you to blade that snow back about a blade width, so people can park there and also act as a bit of a snow fence. Does that make sense to
I'm
you?
trying to understand. This is on 45th Street? Or,
That would be what, 47th? Yeah, 47th Street.
okay. I will talk to my staff.
It's right across from the entrance to the new school there. And there's just about a block and a half. Yeah, Evergreen.
Yeah.
On the bus stop side?
You know the piece of property that we just consolidated?
Oh.
That empty lot
Oh, can I say?
behind IGA?
Yeah.
Okay, it's the piece of that lot that's right across from Evergreen.
Okay.
So on the east side of that lot. That what? Yes. Yeah, correct. It's not a big deal, but if we push that snow back 10, 15 feet, we'll avoid having it all start to blow into the street, and it also gives people a place to park all the way along there when they're picking up their kids. Okay?
Okay, will do.
Pretty quick and easy.
Okay.
Probably do it quicker than I explained it.
I think we should
Oh,
have a
goodness.
map here.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you for that. Any other questions for a bit? Okay, well, thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Appreciate it. And I've just been notified that, I'm not sure, it doesn't say on the agenda, was there 2 parts to planning and growth? Was it supposed to be separate? Because I just have it as one. Okay.
Luke is
Good
here to
afternoon.
present the.
Okay, good
growth
afternoon, Luke.
piece.
Come on down. Sorry, Hans, I missed that, so.
Good afternoon, Your Worship. Good afternoon,
afternoon.
councillors. So in growth services, we've had a very interesting start to the year. We've had a few adversities, but we've had numerous wonderful opportunities. The first thing I wanted to bring up today is we had an excellent meeting that was organized by RE/MAX and I believe the mayor. We met on the 9th of January and we discussed a number of opportunities for future growth. Some councillors were present as well. We concluded the meeting with a tight follow-up to take place between the RE/MAX staff and growth services. So we do have our first formal meeting to go deep into real estate opportunities, particularly on the development side of new buildings, in the residential commodity area as well. So that's going to be happening in a couple of weeks' time. The meeting has already been set up. So that's excellent. So thank you, Mayor, for assisting with organizing that. On the other hand, we just finalized, as Council would remember, we did have some debate during the budget period over the what we call the labor market information and industry gap analysis assessments. We were a little bit short on the budget, so we've applied to the Northern Regional Economic Development Department of the Ministry of Jobs and Labor, Jobs and Economic Development for $75,000. It's a 50-50 funding arrangement. It's a very heavily oversubscribed program. It's only a very short term. It's 2 months that it's going to be open. We made the deadline last week. I want to thank Elvira and her team for helping us with that as well, because it's a very complex process right now to get these applications in. Anyhow, we've applied and we're hoping to get some positive results that will help us get this study done, which will give us a lot of labor market information and data collection to help us understand better where our job opportunities are and the training that we need to do. The rural renewal stream, as you know, the application went in as well as completed and submitted. And the good thing about that is that it's going to help us, give us an opportunity to grow our population with foreign nationals. So we're looking forward to that. On January the 10th, we had a second Economic Development Committee meeting, and it was a great meeting. And we had emerging out of that, we had a subcommittee for tourism with some very enthusiastic members. And we also have a smaller committee that's going to be dealing with the massive trade, career and job fair that we're hoping to have. We've tentatively set it for June of this year. We were hoping to do it towards the third quarter, but the group decided unanimously that it would be better to do it in June. We'll get better attendance. So it's going to be regional. Happy to say that the healthcare aid program grant ceremony was held on sometime in early January, I remember. And we had 14 grad students with a total attendance of about 70 to 80 persons at the CETC. We have a new cohort that will be starting in March. So far, we have 12 registrations, and we'll be continuing the recruitment process. So we should be able to recruit some more. A great opportunity landed on our lap, and we're hoping to make the best use of it, which is in Hans' department. Bernice and Lola came up with, got exposed to an opportunity, something called the Alberta Made Innovative Zero Tuition Fee for early learning childcare. This is a provincial program that is expected to train about 9,000 Albertans 9,000 Alberta childcare workers. The budget that the federal government has put out for this is $774 million to be able to deliver their $10 a day childcare by 2026. So we are working very feverishly as a team to try and get a good program out there. We're working with Northern Lakes College to be able to be the winners of this opportunity. It's going to really make a big difference for us, yeah. Other than that, I think I have covered everything that I needed to report today.
Well, thank you very much for that. Any questions? Councilor Sheriff.
Just a little one. You said there's new course, I guess, starting in March, that you have 12 students registered. What is that one?
That is a healthcare aid.
Healthcare aid,
Yeah.
okay, yeah, thank you.
Have we started advertising for that, for the additional spots?
You know, I don't have a precise answer on that, but I'll get one back to you.
Okay, perfect. Counselor Kamana?
Just wondering, can you give us update on the NLC meeting, or is that a closed session now?
We're going to provide council with an email update on that particular piece.
Is that okay?
Okay, well, thank you very much.
My pleasure.
Sorry, I missed you. I didn't know that there was I didn't see your name down here, so.
It's okay. Thank you.
Okay, moving on to 10.3, Community and Recreation Service Department. Now you can come on down, Hans.
Thank you. And thank you to all of council. So a couple of items to highlight out of the report. It's always good to see that other entities are interested in what's happening in early childhood and development center. So for instance, a great article in one of our, let's say it's more commercial, rural John Deere magazine. So to see that they are looking into what ECDC and childcare means for their group, basically. It's good to note that we are dealing with illness, and that's not on this form, but with the illnesses, and it's the sniffles, the colds and stuff like that from the kids, but also with our workers in the ECDC. So we are keeping a good eye on that, of course, making sure that we don't spread further, let's say, illness/even COVID. For FCSS, it says save the date. So the Volunteer Appreciation Night in 2023 will be on April 20th. So of course, that's a great event where our volunteers and organizations are going to be highlighted and put into the light and make sure that we appreciate what they do for our community. So reserve the date and of course come out to that event. For the Omniplex there and our fitness, we do have skate aids, and there you can see what the business community even does with us. So Vermilion and Weyerhaeuser, we have skate aids, so plastic skate aids that help during a public skate. They are out there, they're well received, and it's really fun to see that in place. So it's great when businesses support our community being active in recreation. One of the bigger events, of course, it was not possible to put it in here because that was distributed before the weekend, but the mayor did our big announcement on Monday. Thank you for doing that, and it was great to see that video clip out there. So
It didn't fall in the pool.
no, she did not, and it went all well. So thank you. That's the announcement that the Ricochet Oil Corp Aquatic Center will open its doors for the first swim, and we call that the soft opening. At that moment, the mayor and a couple of our special people that we invite for that will be standing at the door and inviting the first people to come out for the first swim. That's February 5, this Sunday. We split it up in 2 swims, so to give more people the opportunity, if they want to come for that public swim, starting at 11 o'clock. No, we won't have the mayor standing there the whole day at the front door. It's really open the doors for the first, and we call that the soft opening. It's good to mention that there will be, of course, a grand opening that will be later in the spring. That's where we want to celebrate this awesome facility with the whole community. We'll make that into, let's say, a party, a bigger event. That we make sure that the whole community can come out and see and enjoy the facility, but also festivities at that moment, where we will highlight all the contributions, again, from our builders to our fundraising committee, to our, let's say, sponsors. So making sure that those 2 events are taking place. That means also that between, let's say, from now on February 6th, the Monday, keep an eye on our Facebook post what the schedule will be for people to come out and swim. Because the Park Valley Pool, of course, will have its final swims this week, making sure that we have a transition between now and, let's say, a week later, opening our new facility. Then, invitations will go out for the March 7 special guest, Dr. Michael Unger. That's the Youth Advisory Committee, the RISE event. It's a forum that he will present findings. Invitations will go out. It's for March 7th. Family Day is not a big event. of course, we know that that's February 20th. This will be an event that we, was already said before, highlight a couple of our outdoor locations because the ice festival at that moment with EBPR will not take place as it was usually done, but we will make sure that we have festivities on our outdoor rinks / indoor, the Ricochet Oil Corp facility. We'll have a free swim over there and also in the Omniplex free skate. And a dinner, and we call that community dinner, will be happening on that day as well. So we are ready to host a lot of people, and of course, council will be invited and maybe say a few words to the community, but we'll make sure that that's a festive activity as well for families. The last item, recreation, follow the link on Facebook, SurveyMonkey, to still have the opportunity to say a couple of items. It's just 10 questions, goes quick, but it gives us as the department / the rec committee ideas how to move forward in the future for recreation. And last one, the field house, we talked about making sure that we utilize the Omniplex inside during the summertime. We are making headways with making that happen as a field house location for the summer with a turf, bringing that in. And yeah, keep an eye on that. So when ice goes out, the facility will still be used for activities inside. That concludes. And any questions?
Thank you very much. Any questions for Hans? Councilor Kamana?
You know, it's exciting that February 5th, you're opening the pool. That's fantastic. So that's a soft opening, right? So
Correct.
It's invite only, and
We call that
need to be there, or just what's the scope of the event?
So, and it's of course, yeah, so it's a soft opening. That means the public can come for the first swim. It's paid admission, so it's really utilizing the facility. But at the start at 11 a.m. on Sunday morning, the mayor, we invite Ricochet, of course, as a biggest representative, the Reef, making sure that Bristol County and Parkland County as well will be there to open up the doors for the first time. That's soft opening. It's not bigger than that. It's not a big festivity. It will be opening. So we'll see how many people line up. It's not further invites. We let all our sponsors know that that moment is going to happen. So maybe sponsors will be there, but the big opening will be later on. It will be in the spring. So it's a soft opening. The first swim will happen at 11 a.m. People can come for public swim.
So should we be there? Or?
You're invited to see the mayor basically swinging and opening the doors at that moment. But the biggest opening, the grand opening in spring, will be absolutely a, let's say, between brackets, must to be there.
Thank you.
I'm not, I think you just stepped out too, Pam, for save the date for 2023 Volunteer Appreciation Night. Can you send out a calendar invite to everybody for that, April 20th? Just so we have it in our calendars. And exciting that also that the recreation, that we've seen a huge number of users this season. So that's good, right? Exciting. Okay, well, it doesn't look like there's any other questions. So thank you very much for your report. And we'll move along to emergency and protective services stats for November and December. 10.4, Tom, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Mayor, Council. So I'll quickly go through the stats and then I'll be free to answer any questions Council has. So for the months of November and December, what we're going to be going through for November, I'll respond for the fire department. We respond to 40 calls for service, 4 of which were fire calls. One was at local sawmill in the area as well. We had a structure fire, which was fully involved when we arrived on scene. As well, we had 2 rubbish fires that were related to the local homeless facilities at the landfill. In terms of motor vehicle collisions, respond to 11 in total, 3 of which were single vehicle rollovers, plus we had another 3 that were vehicle versus animal on the highway. And then we respond to 5 two-vehicle motor vehicle collisions. Fortunately, all of them, the individuals sustained minor injuries. In terms of rescue calls, respond to 1, which was a cat, to retrieve a cat that was on a power pole. So we assisted the residents with that incident. And then we also responded to 15 alarm calls. 10 were residential, and that was the usual things that go on, cooking and whatnot. 4 commercial, and then 1 school alarm. Moving on to assisting other agencies. We responded to 7 in the month of November. Two of them, 2 calls were related to patients that needed to be resuscitated. 1 was an overdose. Then we had 2 lift and assists, 1 cardiac arrest, and then 1 involved a senior that had fallen in their home and needed some assistance. So we assisted with that. We also responded to 2 miscellaneous calls. One was a call regarding smoke in an area. It turned out to be nothing. And then we also responded to a carbon monoxide leak at a local residence in town, which took us to a total of 40 calls for service. In terms of December, we were a little bit busier in December. We responded to 48 calls for service, 6 of which were fire calls. 1 involved a tank fire that was full of crude oil. We were able to quickly extinguish that fire and get it under control, which the oil company that was involved was very thankful for. We responded to 3 structure fires. 1 involved a garage with a vehicle inside. Both the vehicle and the garage were totally destroyed. We then responded to a mobile home where the individuals were trying to unthaw pipes under the mobile home, and they caught the bottom of the house on fire. That is quite common when we have very cold weather, that we see that a lot with people trying to thaw freezing pipes. So we also responded to a roof or an attic fire in a roof where the individual's fireplace wasn't working properly, and it caused a fire in the attic, which fortunately enough for both of those incidents, we were able to save the structures. So those were wins for us. In terms of motor vehicle collisions, responded to 7 in total. 2 single vehicle rollovers. 1 involved a vehicle versus a deer. We responded to 3 two-vehicle motor vehicle collisions. And then we had 1 four-vehicle motor vehicle collision. And again, fog has wreaked havoc on our highways, as everybody is aware. We had this one. We also had another major one in January, which I'll talk about when we talk about the January stats. And that brought us to, that was all the motor vehicle collisions. Then we had 24 alarm calls, which those are all laid out for you. So spent a lot of time with those. Again, we then responded to assisting other agency. We responded to 7, 4 of which were cardiac arrests. 1 was a stroke call, and then we had 1 suicide, and then 1, the individual suffering with breathing problems. So that was busy for our assisting other agencies. And then to round out December, we had 4 miscellaneous calls. 1 was a fuel spill. 2 were CO alarms and leaks in local residents. And then 1 was investigation of an abandoned vehicle. The call came in, someone thought there was someone inside the vehicle. Turned out that there was nothing there, so it was unfounded. So we still had to check it out. So that took us to a total of 48 calls for service for the month of December. Are there any questions related to the fire department report?
Any questions? No, go ahead.
No? Okay. Moving on, we'll talk about our enforcement services stats for November and December. For November, we had 105 complaints, 23 of which were community service related concerns, primarily dealing with noise complaints, snow shoveling complaints, public behavior, more intoxication issues. So those were the community standards issues. We had 27 complaints, people complaining about speeding on streets, as well as problems in the Omniplex parking lot, which is an ongoing concern that we're continuing to deal with. In terms of animal control, we had 11 complaints. The majority of those were cat issues, which again, as I've mentioned before, we are receiving a significant number of animals into the shelter. The majority of those are cats. And then we had 11 other bylaw, which are complaints that don't fall under the community standards bylaw. In terms of provincial complaints, we had 18. That's dealing with the other provincial acts other than the Traffic Act. A lot of those dealt with trespassing, but we also were receiving a large number of calls, complaints about the smell from the marijuana smell that's in the industrial area. So we are getting complaints of that. Again, it's because of the inversion from the weather. It forces the air to the ground, which causes that. But we are getting complaints in regards to that. And then we also received 15 miscellaneous, where people are just asking general questions of our CPO enforcement officer. In terms of tickets, we did issue 49 warning tickets, and we handed out 53 tickets. Majority of those tickets are in our school zone area. We are having some issues with people not following school zone speeds, and consequently, we are actively ticketing those individuals that are not following those rules. Just for council's awareness as well, during the month of November, there was 193 Travis permits that were issued. Again, as council agreed in the budget, moving forward in 2023, we will now be receiving income from those Travis permits. So, but it's just to give you an idea of the number of permits that are being issued per month. Moving on to the month of December, we had 78 complaints. Again, 22 were community standards bylaw issues. We also dealt with 16 traffic complaints, generally speeding and stunting concerns. Again, 16 animal control complaints dealing with primarily with cats, as I mentioned before. We also have received some dog barking complaints that we actively deal with. 17 provincial ones, again, dealing with the marijuana smell primarily. So that's just so that council is aware. And then we had questions, 5 miscellaneous questions. In terms of tickets, we handed out a total of 41, 26 were warnings, and 15 were actual tickets. And then Travis permits were 152 in the month of December. So we do get a lot of Travis permits being issued. Some other things that are going on with our enforcement services, as council is aware, we are still short a bylaw officer position, so that forces our CPO officer to do double duty and is carrying the load at this point in time. We are looking to rectify that shortly, hopefully in the coming months, and I'll inform council as we move forward. We've also posted for the second CPO position. So the advertisement is out, and we've currently received 20 applications. So we'll see how that goes. Hopefully we can hire somebody in the near future. As well, we also were able to secure a secondhand CPO vehicle that council approved. We received the vehicle from a new municipality that is just amalgamated called Diamond Valley, which was formerly Black Diamond, and Turner Valley has come together to form the new municipality of Diamond Valley. So they were not in need of this police vehicle, which is a Dodge Charger, which is a pretty slick looking vehicle. So we are currently getting it ready to go. We still have to do a few things to it. We have to install a camera system into it and do a few upgrades to it. But other than that, it's pretty much ready to go. So it's a pretty nice looking unit. And as well, we've been working on our enforcement services procedure manual, which has gone through administration for the most part. And we're just waiting for Rob to finish signing off on that, and then that'll be good to go. And that pretty much covers our report. Does council has any questions?
Thank you very much for that. Any questions, Councillor Ballas?
Thank you. A few things. How are your complaints coming in?
How do they come in?
Yeah, by what method? Is it phoning you guys directly?
Yeah, there's a number of ways it comes in. Could be through phoning directly, or it could be on our portal that we have on the website, where people just file a complaint and send it in. As well, when Cody is out in the community, there's lots of people that come and talk to him and have conversations face to face. So pretty much a wide variety of different ways. We also get the odd complaint through Facebook.
Just 911 is not involved, or do the RCMP forward any complaints?
Occasionally, they will pass on complaints that they get at their office. They'll forward them on to our CPO officer if it's a bylaw issue. And so, yes, we get them through there as well.
Secondly, bylaw. Are we looking at long-term?
At this point in time, we are still in short-term disability mode. So until we hear further, we're still going with that short term. But we are looking to fill the gap, possibly by doing a contract position until that individual comes back. So.
And thirdly, the smell. How is that being rectified or being looked at?
Sorry?
The smell of the marijuana? Because it seems to be a constant problem.
Right. It is, at this point in time, it has been referred to our planning and development team, and they are working with the organizations and companies that are involved in that. So they're working through their processes. So.
You had mentioned in your report that you're still seeing a lot of tickets at the Omniplex. I would think that with the stunting tickets that were going out and the parents that were receiving them, that we would have seen a decrease, but are we not?
We're not getting any more, but we're still getting.
We're still where we
We're still getting problems down there. Sometimes it takes a while for kids to get the message. So
Yeah.
we'll just continue on until people figure it out.
And do we know that the fines are being paid?
Yeah.
Because they're quite hefty.
Yes,
Yeah.
they are.
So I thought
Fines,
maybe we-
fines are being paid, so.
And then what about for littering too at the Omniplex? I guess you have to catch them. in the
Yeah,
act,
that's a little more problematic and difficult because you actually have to see the individuals or the
stakeout.
vehicle. And we are doing stakeout operations there, and we've had success catching people doing things that they're not supposed to be doing. So we're working on that, so.
Good, good. And then two, the cats, have we seen a decrease at all in the number of cats? I thought maybe over the holidays, people would have gifted cats or something.
No,
From the
we have
shelter.
not seen a decrease. In fact, we're going the other way, unfortunately, so.
So if
Yeah,
you know
part of the-
somebody who has a birthday coming up,
Yeah, part of the problem that we're having too is people will, unfortunately, sometimes they'll see cats wandering loose and they'll pick them up and bring them to the shelter.
and they actually belong to somebody.
And they actually belong to someone, but they don't have a tag or they don't have a collar. So we have no way of knowing who that is. We put it out on our media saying that this cat's come in, does anybody own it? But a lot of times people don't bother looking for the animal. So now we are now stuck with it. We've had situations too where individuals have actively gone out looking for animals, which we've discouraged because a lot of those animals have homes. They
Yeah.
just are wandering loose. So
Yeah.
if we can get people to stop freely picking them up and bringing them in, we can reduce some of the problems that we're having.
If you see a cat on the street, turn a blind eye.
Unless it's a nuisance. Obviously, if it's a nuisance and causing
yeah.
problems, then yes, we need to deal with it. But a lot of times those animals do have homes. And
Yeah.
so we just want to make sure that we're not grabbing someone's animal that does have a home.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, I don't think there's any other questions. Thank you very much for your report.
Okay, thank
And
you.
we'll move to our communications. I think you're going to be giving this to us, Rob?
Yeah. So Jen had to duck out. But the two highlights she wanted to bring to council's attention on the report. The first one is that the government person who was helping us with our rural renewal stream application I was satisfied that we had met all of her expectations and the application was submitted last week. So as we wait for the government to respond to that application, which we are quite confident we will have a positive response soon, we have begun the work setting up the rest of the components of the rural renewal stream. So as soon as we get that response from the provincial government, we'll be able to move ahead. Also, highlighted in Jen's report is the announcement of the Ricochet Oil Corp Aquatic Center with that soft opening looming at the beginning of February. There's a whole bunch of communication that Jen was very pleased to be able to unveil to the public. So we'd spent a lot of time putting that together. I will also highlight that there was a couple of projects from the budget. The first was for a community engagement platform, and the second was the citizen budget tool. Both of those pieces are in implementation now, and our anticipation is to get them set up really early in the year so we're able to use them for some of our big community engagement projects this year. And then, of course, for our budget piece, because the citizen budget tool will likely play a huge factor in the way we engage with the public over budget preparation. So we're very excited for all of those projects. And although I might not be able to answer them, if council has any questions, we can certainly see what I can do. And if not, I'll pass them on to Jen.
Thank you very much for that. Councillor Evans.
Communications is handling the Alberta Emergency Alert Training. That's not something under emergency management.
So they participated in the training. So Jen is also our information officer in the emergency management. So that was one of the reasons she was taking that training.
So that's just Jen herself took the training.
That's right.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay.
A couple of others, and it was coordinated by Joey.
Okay. Yeah, we have a few people then who have taken it?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah,
we did.
good, good.
I do see on the report website updates. This is something that keeps coming into all of our conversations. Do you know much about what types and what's coming
Yeah,
up
so
here?
a big piece of this follows from the conversation we had last week in the ad hoc meeting about some of the updates we'd like to see in the meeting. So Jen and I had spoke about her initiating a bit of a project to do a full website map review. So in doing that, you're able to check all of the links to make sure they work. We'll be able to hit up any places where we have old content that's in the wording of the website. So some of the old reports and things that we have on there for historical information will still have historic information, but we'll want to mark them as being historic, make sure that people are getting the newer reports. But then all of the text we see on the website, we just want to make sure that it's all up to date. So it's a big project. The website is large. There's a lot of intertwined links, but it's essentially a matter of we print the whole thing out and then the communications department will move link by link through the entire website to make sure that it's updated.
Okay, any other questions? No, okay, thank you very much for that. We'll move on to council reports. Councillor Gamana.
That's me. Thank you.
You betcha.
So on the 12th, I had the opportunity to attend the first community safety meeting for the year with Councillor Sheriff. So we had a good meeting there, try to catch up with what's happening last year as well, and discussed about a few things like the camera systems and the other initiatives that's been discussed last year and moving forward this year as well. On the 13th, attended the healthcare aid grad ceremony, which Hans, you mentioned. Was great to see Zero Feet students graduating, and our Mayor Nancy Dodds was there as well, so it's excellent. 14th was my daughter's 5th birthday, so celebrated that.
Ooh, happy birthday.
17th, the Education and Economic Development meeting, PPRRC meeting, and Health Foundation meeting was a busy day. And 20th had the Education Committee meeting. So that's it from me.
Thank you very much for that. Moving along, Councillor Clark.
So I'm only going to touch on things that are non-committee related. We met with one of Minister Nixon's staffers in town, toured the Shelter Pods Opportunity Home and the day shelters. So we got to kind of interface with him and talk about those initiatives and kind of what Drayton's looking like in terms of homelessness. Also met with Metal Necks, talked about affordable housing and kind of some thoughts they had around that. So I guess we'll follow up with them at a later date and circle around on that.
Yes, I do have, actually, that's what I had to give to, I actually will give it to Ken, the plans.
Okay, had a constructive meeting with Thunder the other day. And that's all I'll talk about for now.
Perfect. Thank you very much for that. Councillor Evans.
Let me see. On the 16th, I attended a Healthy Communities Coalition meeting. Let me see. Again, reviewed board insurance. What else? So I was asked to restart or start a new men's mental health group, which has been a bit of a challenge, but they've also contacted, there's a little bit of funding. I believe it's federal, could be provincial, but I think it's federal. And they've got a bunch of tools for men's mental health, posters, suggestions on how to get the information out there, what kind of groups to try and address, and all kinds of good tools. So hopefully that will turn into something that we can make successful. Let me see, what else did I do? I was at Growth Services that we all attended. That was pretty interesting. I also attended on the 19th, the library board meeting, where, as I mentioned, we looked at our newest member, chatted with her, also went over the process of how new members are supposed to be brought forward, and what that process is and how long members can stay before they must remove themselves from the board. They can reapply after they've taken a break of one 3-year stint. So good to clear that up for everybody. Let me see. I think that might be about it for me. Oh, the Sustainability Committee. Yes, I was lucky enough to be voted as the chair of that committee. I'm very excited about that. But it should be interesting. I've got a few interesting ideas. We'll see how the rest of the committee accepts them. But we just kind of talked about the, what's the name of that on the pond there?
Lanterns on the pond. I was like, oh.
Yeah, yeah.
For the floating dock.
We talked about that and how we can be better prepared for it, what information we want to get out there at the time, and yeah, just how we can do it a little more or be a little better prepared for it with the boat, et cetera, where we're going to kind of launch everything. And there was talk about maybe some
safety.
Yeah. Yeah, make sure we have all the safety gear prepared.
Prior.
And I wanted to do some fireworks out in the middle of the pond there, but
We're going to send Tom on holidays that week.
we'll see. We'll see. We'll talk to Tom, see how that goes. And I think that's probably enough for me. I think that about covers it.
Thank you very much for that. That was exciting. Councillor Sheriffs.
So I'll be quick. I attended the community safety meeting, the Drayton Valley Hospitality and Tourism meeting, and Recreation Committee meeting all in one day. That was very eventful, but we did talk about some new ideas for play parks and dog parks and possibly some obstacle courses for the dog parks. And there's few ideas floating around. So there's some things to consider and be excited about. The Regional Homelessness Forum, Education Committee, and Economic Development Committee. It was, I don't know. That's it.
Perfect, thank you. It's funny because when departments give their reports, I ask for questions. So I think what we're going to start doing is when counselors give their reports, and I'm going to say to administration, any questions? I just was thinking that. So prepare yourself for next time.
But I think that would be a good idea because, I mean, you guys give your reports and we have questions. When we give our reports, this is what we do. Well, I attended it, but it was a 2-hour meeting. I'm not going to tell you exactly all of it.
I
but
think you guys
if
should come up with some
questions-
questions. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Oh, I see Monica's with me. Deputy Mayor Ballas.
Thank you. I had the opportunity to spend 5 days away in the South Country, which I enjoyed very much. And then when I returned, we had the interview for the staff sergeant position. And I think, as was mentioned, a very positive outcome, and I'm sure a release of a name will be very soon, if it was an accepted position. Then we had the tour of the pods and the warming center with the gentleman from the provincial government. I think, if I recall, his name was David. And I found that very interesting because of his background. He was homeless for 10 years and an addict. And it was an interesting conversation at Warming Hearts, where he sat down and was talking to the people that were utilizing the premises. And I think they really opened up to him because he experienced it. And he was able to ask them the questions that I would never probably have the nerve to ask them. But he did. And what really surprised me was, I shouldn't say surprised, but it was very informative to listen to the people talking. And I'm talking about the homeless people and their situations and where they came from and why they are in the situation that they are. And it's very interesting, and I would encourage anybody to go down there and have a meal and just sit down with them and have a conversation. Because there's such a perception in the public of them, but if you sit down and maybe take the opportunity to talk to them, you certainly get a different understanding. And for me, I certainly opened up my eyes a lot. And I would encourage anybody to get that opportunity to sit down and talk to them. And that completes my report.
Well, thank you very much for that, Bill. Any questions for Bill? We'll do it as a trial today. So my council report is I attended the healthcare aid graduation ceremony, which was fantastic. I don't think we celebrated enough. It was our first, graduation with our new partners, which is the Healthcare Aid Academy. So I know that program is high in demand. So I look forward to students being enrolled year after year and filling that shortage, not only in our community, but other communities that surround us. It was very, very exciting. And I can tell you that those women were very, very grateful for the opportunity that they were given and very thankful. And it really changed, I would say, all of their lives. So it was fantastic to see and listen and just to see their, them go from a certain situation to, making more money, having an opportunity, having a different job, it's very life-changing. And to hear those testimonials and see it's just, fantastic. So I think, it's a reminder to the team that we're doing a good job, right? And that we've done accomplishments, and sometimes we don't celebrate enough, but this is definitely, I think we didn't celebrate enough here. And I just want to highlight that it was fantastic. As Colin said, we had a meeting with Metalnex, which I think is good. It's important to be continuing those meetings with the businesses and listening to their ideas. And I know they have a couple proposals that we have to bring forward for potential discussion. I've had several education and economic development meetings in the last couple of weeks, including ad hoc meetings. Sustainability meeting I attended. Councillor McGee was away, so I had attended that. And congratulations to you, Rick. You're doing a fantastic job as the chair. That's very good on you. We look forward to all your ideas in the next, in the coming years. So maybe I think one of his was a floating dock and a band, and yes, fireworks, Tom. So you're gonna have to try to figure out how we're gonna pull that one off here. That's at the Northview Pond. I said there's a field behind or something, so maybe think of ways we can make that happen. Yeah, we toured the pods and the Opportunity Home with David Kerr from the province, which was always a great way. I think the last time, or a great thing, last time he was here, the Opportunity Home was under renovations and the shelter pods weren't open and neither was the warming center. So I think it's a great opportunity for the province to see how much we've advanced in such a short amount of time, right? We talk about rural advocacy and the needs and money and grants and everything else support. So I think that this really shows them that the community, not just the municipality or private entity, that the communities really come together to see, you know, these types of resources and opportunities come to fruition. So I think it's a good thing. So I was happy that he actually came because he's been here before. So it was a good thing. And yeah, I had fun on Monday shooting the pool video with Jen. It's always fun when we do the videos. I was a little bit worried. She wanted me to go in the water. So there was a few things I thought we might have a bloopers reel here of me going in, falling in, not purposely going in there. But yeah, it was fun. Very exciting that the Ricochet Oil Corp Aquatic Center will be opening on February 5th with 2 public swim times, as everyone said. This project has been in the making for over 10 years. So there's been a lot of administration and council and organizations and individuals that have been part of this project from day one. I know that everyone is more than over the moon and excited for this project to come to completion and the doors to be opening. And I just want to say thank you to everybody out there that's made this possible. It's not just been 1 or 2 or 3 individuals. It's been a ton of people that have really made this project happen. So a big thank you to everybody there. And I look forward to opening the doors and welcoming everybody for the first swim on the soft opening. And that is it for my report. And what I think I'll do now is I will ask a member of council to make a motion to accept department and council reports as information. If I can get somebody from council to make that motion. Councilor Sheriff?
Sure, I'll make a motion that council accepts the reports for information, as information.
Perfect, thank you very much for that. Do I need to do an all in favor? Okay, then I'll ask all in favor. Thank you very much for that. That is carried. And we will move to, most of us have done council and committee reports. But if there's any further updates, I'll combine them with the council items as well. So 11.8 and 11.9 together. So if there's any updates that you left out in your report, now's your opportunity, or any roundtable discussions. And I think that Councillor Clark, you have a few things you wanted to add here.
I do. So as part of the January DVCF board meeting, we discussed the year ahead subcommittees. On 2 more subcommittees as part of the DVCF, so Donor Relations Committee and Marketing Committee. And then one of the requests that came out of one of those committees was for the Random Acts of Kindness week in February, and specifically February 17th from 12 to 4. They're formally, or Ricochet has formally requested on behalf of DVCF to have that time allotted for a free swim. So do we open that for discussion? Does that need to be a motion? Does that need to be?
So February 17th?
Because it is part of a contract, right? Ricochet, I think they have 4 time slots or something.
So maybe just a clarification so I make sure I understand. This is how Ricochet is wanting to use one of the opportunities under their sponsorship agreement? That's right.
So why would that be through
I don't know that it would need.
Drayton Valley Community Foundation and it wouldn't be through the Pokehons?
Yeah, so there was an email sent.
Okay.
Thank you for getting me here for some information. So the sponsor agreements based on, of course, the discussion down here and approved by council includes indeed a couple of events that Ricochet has based on their sponsoring. So one of those is that they have one event, basically utilizing the Drayton Foundation to allocate that for a public event. Right now, they are asking for that event, so it's part of the agreement, to do that straight away on February 17th. We, of course, get that request with our aquatic manager. We're looking into it. We basically will go back to them and ask them to postpone it to a hopefully later date, because it will be the first event when it's open to the public, if that's the case. That's going to be our biggest, most likely swim, because it's a free event at that moment for the public. So we probably want to ask them to put it a little bit later in the year, that event, to wait till we are a little bit, let's say, more time under our belt. The 20th is also, because it's Family Day, is a free swim for the families, and that's what I said already. So there is a free event happening, and that's basically what we're gearing up with our staff to be ready for that event, that we expect a big turnout, of course. So we do that directly with the Drayton Foundation, with Ricochet, all our sponsors that have an event, and directly do that with our aquatic manager.
So was the request for any sort of proclamation? So is it just specific to that day, or?
There was an email sent from, directly from, what's his name? DVCO, or
Tom?
Ricochet, Tom Copeland.
Yep.
To, I believe, the town. And that's where that's all getting sussed out. So, but he sent it on behalf of DVCF using Ricochet's allotted time as part of their contract, so.
Okay.
Sorry, once again, that is correct. Every year that will happen, of course, because that's in the contract, that Ricochet and Drayton Foundation basically have that in the contract of the Ricochet naming as part of it. So it's the right process. We're only going to go back to them and ask them maybe to postpone it a little bit later in the year, not to choose the 17th of February straight away.
So is the 17th of February, is that like a national day that it's the?
So it's random act of kindness. So they're going to do it over the course of that week. So they're hitting different things. And part of it was, hey, the pool, we have this contract in the contract. Let's use it then, because it's part of that week that they've allotted for Random Acts of Kindness Week. So you can go back to them and ask them. I don't know. I think their preference is to do the 17th. But
Okay. So you'll be in contact
Yeah.
with them, yeah. And then maybe just also keep in mind too, if there's something else we can do, like a day or a week, we have a council before, meeting before and a council after for proclamation or a shout out or something for the Random Acts of Kindness or something as well. Maybe that would help with the acknowledging and then moving the date or something as well, right? Okay, thank you for that.
Thank you. Now the next thing was Opportunity Home. I did talk to Art Frey. He called me. He's on vacation right now, but he wanted to sit down and talk about transitional housing and maybe how Urbanata may fit into that and some things we could possibly do around that. So can somebody from administration reach out to Art directly and maybe set up a date that we can sit down and talk about that sort of stuff and maybe what council would like to do, and if there is a desire to, move forward with that in lockstep with them.
I would just add to that there has been a request made to Opportunity Home to come as a delegation.
Yeah.
So I would probably ask that to be included rather than be setting up a meeting. I know there's a few things and they keep going through Colin. And I think for these asks, rather than doing it the way that's, because we're not getting anywhere, right? So I think that what needs to happen is they need to come and present and give us the status of where they're at, what their asks are, so we can get a clear picture and what their plan is going forward, right? And then we can discuss some of the funding that we did receive and whether it fits into that and the time that they kind of commit to the warming center and all that, right? I thought maybe they would come in January, but I know a lot of them are on holidays, so. And I think who did I talk to? I talked to somebody, it was at the REMAX meeting when he said that he was going to forward that on, that they would plan to come as a delegation. So doesn't sound like they're planning it yet, but maybe if we can encourage that.
Yeah, either way, I think we need to get them in front of us or us in front of them, whatever. But yeah, there's lots of asks, but I think we need to have something formal probably with them and maybe just some broader dialogue around what their plans are, right?
We'll reach out and talk about what the most appropriate fashion might be a delegation appointment, even if it's, we ultimately take it in camera, might be the best way, because that would set up an easy way for administration to provide some feedback after we understand what the organization is thinking about. So, but yeah, we'll reach out and talk about how best to do that.
Okay, perfect. Two other things really quickly. Today is actually Bell Let's Talk Day, so kind of in consort with your talk about men's mental health, this is Bell Let's Talk Day, so so it's timely. And then lastly, Rob, with respect to the portal, I've had some feedback as well as myself. I put stuff into the we call it the trouble portal. Customer service portal, and I haven't received. You're supposed to get an automated email saying it's been received, as well as I believe you're supposed to get something saying it's the loop's closed and here's the remedy, sort of thing. I haven't received anything on that.
Yeah, I didn't either.
Yeah.
Maybe I can connect with you guys and we can track your item and see if we can see what happened. We'll get that fixed up right away.
I had one more thing there that you brought up. Is that it? Does anybody else have any roundtable discussions or things that are happening? No. Okay, I think then that is it. That comes to the end of our council meeting. We have no items to accept as information, and I'll ask a member of council to adjourn our meeting. I got 3 minutes, Councillor Gamana. Thank you for that. All in favor? That is carried, and our meeting will be adjourned at 2:58 p.m.